Over the centuries, the man is reborn, remembering his first life when he went to Miram. He sought to master the basics of combat techniques and the art of wielding a three-pronged sword in order to prepare for the battles to come. But his efforts were in vain. Two huge thugs beat him up without any difficulty. The young man dies at the hands of bandits, but this is not the end of his journey. Fate has prepared new trials for him. He is reborn only to die and come back to life again. This endless cycle becomes his curse. Memories of each life are preserved. In one of them, he had the honor of studying with the greatest masters. At the time, he thought it was a gift from heaven. Now, he sees it as just a link in the chain of eternal reincarnations. In his old age, he stands on a mountain peak. A yellow butterfly lands on his hand, symbolizing another rebirth. The fatigue of endless rebirths weighs on him, but he knows that he must move forward. The old man sadly realizes that he has been reborn too many times. He became the strongest in Miram, achieved his goal, but life has lost its meaning. He can't understand. Was it a joke of fate or something more? The butterfly flies up, showering him with yellow pollen. The old man dreams of eternal peace in heaven, hoping that this time death will finally set him free. He closes his eyes, preparing for the end. But he opens them and looks at his new body with bewilderment. Reincarnation is like an obsessive subscription that you can't get rid of. No longer an old man, but a young man, he asks in despair why he was reborn again. His cry from the heart echoes around. He reflects it all had to end. So many lives, enough for volumes of autobiography. But fate, it seems, thinks otherwise. The young man looks around, noticing how people look at his unusual speech strangely. In this life, not only a new body awaits him, but also new secrets. His head is spinning. Memories of the body's previous owner flood his mind, overwhelming his memory. Someone asks if he's okay. He remembers how the nanny looked after him like a baby. Her excessive care sometimes irritated him, but now he sees it as genuine love. In the mirror, he sees the face of the person he possessed. This guy committed suicide, and this was the cause of his death. He apologizes to the nanny, muttering that he just had a nightmare. His voice sounds like he's trying to reassure himself as well as her. The nanny suggests that his strange behavior is due to recent events. Several days of unconsciousness have clearly left their mark. He needs rest. She and her brother ask the hero if he needs anything. He replies that he needs to figure out how to live in this new body. The nanny, surprised, asks again what he is talking about. His words create more riddles than clarity. He assures everyone that he has not lost his mind, asking with slight mockery if he looks like a madman. The young man asks for food to be brought in an hour, assuring that nothing unusual will happen. He thinks to himself that he was stupid, having immediately started saying strange things. The nanny agrees, promising to cook his favorite dish. Her care, as always, is shown in the little things that he now appreciates more deeply. She expresses hope that he simply wants to recuperate. Her tone is reassuring, as if she is reassuring both him and herself that everything will be fine. He looks at the ceiling, realizing that this is only the beginning. In his mind, a premonition grows that a new storm is already looming on the horizon. Memories of past days float through his head, intertwining with the present, creating a tangled kaleidoscope of emotions and thoughts. As his thoughts and the memories of the body's former owner merge, he tries to find some sense in them. The new life only complicates the mystery. The previous owner of the body was Suk Gene Ho, a man who did not shine with either strength or intelligence, but left behind many mysteries. Returning home, he was confronted by a crowd that despised him, pointed fingers, and condemned him. Suk Gene Ho sank into a dark pessimism, refusing food and avoiding people, as if he was slowly walking towards the end, accepting his fate. It was then that the main character entered his body. Gene decided to commit suicide in the prime of life, succumbing to internal torment. There were those around him who valued his life above their own. Their concern manifested itself in small things, like worrying that he was too lightly dressed for the cold weather. He wonders why he needs to wrap up warmly. He feels like he's being taken for an old man, even though he is full of energy. Someone offers to walk him home, but he refuses. The question of why he is late sounds more like concern than reproach. He didn't notice how time flew by. His mind was so absorbed in thoughts that reality slipped out of his attention. They offer him a seat because the food is ready. With a little irony, he asks if they consider him a child, but in response he only hears a joke that he will be able to complain when he gets stronger. Based on past experience, one thought is spinning in his head: perhaps this is not a divine gift at all. The young man ponders what he might have missed in his past lives. Having seen a lot, he still does not understand why he did certain things. He feels ashamed because he is not who they think he is. He wonders what the real owner of this body was trying to achieve before he left. He thinks with a hint of mockery about the body's previous owner. He was weak, but he managed to convey his message. Now he must decide what to do. He vows to fulfill the boy's will and prove that he is worthy of respect. For him, who once conquered Murim, this will not be a difficult task. He will make others regret their actions. Those who stood in his way will realize their mistakes. Their insight will come late, but better late than never. The boy wants to show the world his truth. His intentions seem pure, but those around him are in no hurry to believe him. To make his dream come true, he decides to start training. The young man understands that without effort, nothing can be achieved. The more power he gains, the more effort it takes to maintain it. His first martial art is the heavenly dance of Taijikwan. This technique is ideal for strengthening the body and building muscle, and also develops the vision needed to achieve the goal. The changes in his muscles are painful, but inevitable. He knows that this is a necessary step on the road to success. Although the young man was prepared for the suffering, the pain turns out to be almost unbearable. But he decides to move forward, leaving the past behind. A little more patience, but the strength is running out. The veins are bulging, sweat is pouring like a river, pouring onto the face. He plunges into meditation. The results are modest so far, but he already feels the energy accumulating, the first step to great achievements. The nanny, seeing the gentleman in the cold, becomes worried. She asks if he is sick, but he just waves her off, assuring her that everything is fine. With a hint of mockery, he asks if he looks sick. His words sound more like a joke than a serious statement. The nanny warns that overdoing it could pull him back to bed. Her concern is obvious, but he is not about to back down. He explains that he cannot sit idle. In order to protect the nanny, he must become stronger. His determination is unwavering. The nanny tries to convince him that she can protect him herself and asks him to take care of his health. He only smiles, saying that he has an important goal. She is surprised because the gentleman only communicated with her in Yun. Her thoughts darken, thinking about his words. He decides to find Yun and pass on his knowledge to him. His intentions seem sincere, but there is a shadow of hidden intentions in his eyes. The nanny vows to support him despite all obstacles. Her words are full of sincerity, as if she is ready to sacrifice everything for his happiness. The protagonist notices a young man who is furiously punching the air. His battle cry echoes throughout the area. He sees that the boy's physique is perfect for the heavenly iron fist. His instincts are right. This young man has great potential. Yun stops training, declaring that he has done enough for today. He hopefully asks if he has become any stronger, expecting praise for his efforts. The protagonist reflects that mastering this art will take time, but he is confident that Yun will quickly grasp the basics and, having mastered the technique, will be able to challenge even formidable enemies. Yun gratefully promises to become a mighty warrior to support him, his words filled with determination, as if he is ready to give his all. The protagonist looks at the young man with warmth, calling him almost a brother. Their bonds grow stronger despite the difference in experience. Yin hugs him tightly, not wanting to let go. The protagonist jokes that he should be a little less sentimental. The nanny offers cool water, but the hero is distracted by shouts that he shouldn't touch certain things. People are bustling about, announcing that guests will be coming to the gentleman tomorrow. Surprised, he asks what is going on, but the nanny only reminds him of the upcoming holiday. He remembers that tomorrow there will be a celebration at the head of the clan. The nanny worries if everything is okay with him, but he assures that everything is fine. The nanny reminds him that he will have to meet enemies. She worries about how he will talk to them. The hero only smiles, advising her not to worry. He jokes that if he were her, he would worry about those who are against him. The nanny, surprised, asks again, but he only nods, confirming his words. Yin notices that the hero has changed a lot since their first meeting. Admiring his courage, he decides to keep up with his mentor. The nanny reassures him, saying that she has already prepared a gift. Her words sound encouraging, as if she wants to spare him unnecessary trouble. She reflects that it is not necessary to spend money on rice. She even sewed his clothes herself. Her skill never ceases to amaze him. He looks at the people around him with warmth. These people love him so much, although they are essentially strangers. This thought gives rise to mixed feelings in him. He decides to go where he can meet famous masters from all over the world. If he proves himself, he might become a student of one of them. But the young man believes that there is no need to seek mentors among the elders. His confidence sounds like a challenge, but it is tinged with faith in his own strength. He admits that he has become a different person thanks to those who believed in him. His words are full of gratitude, and his gaze is directed to the future, which promises new changes. The young man decides that today he will take the first step towards these changes. His determination is unwavering, as if he is ready to challenge any obstacles. He says frankly that he does not know what awaits them ahead. With slight doubt, he asks if they are ready to stay by his side, but those around him answer without hesitation, confirming their loyalty. They swear that they will always follow him. Their words sound like a vow of devotion, and he accepts it with warmth in his heart. Now they are together, ready to set off on a long journey, not knowing what trials await them on this difficult but exciting path. People are surprised to see that the young master, who rarely left the house before, has changed. Chun-Suk noticed that his behavior has changed. Someone comes up to him and asks if it's true that he's changed, repeating the rumors circulating among those around him. The hero notices a man in a white kimono and, after searching his memory, realizes that this is probably his brother, Suk Gene Ho. Manhwa reminds that today is the clan leader's birthday, and he couldn't miss the hero. His tone is slightly mocking, as if he is justifying his appearance. He calls his interlocutor a simple student, although he is only a month younger. But Manhwa's rank is higher, and he clearly emphasizes his superiority. Manhwa reflects that at his age, reaching such a status is already a great success. He emphasizes that he has prospects, unlike his interlocutor. The young man offers to fight, joking that the weather today is ideal for a duel. He chuckles that there are no witnesses at the celebration. He assures that he will soon keep his promise, perhaps as early as tomorrow. His words are full of conviction, as if he sees the future clearly. He challenges his opponent to a fight, but warns him not to underestimate him. Although the opponent is not very talented, he is respected in Shijiazhuang. The young man adds that it is time to repay the debt. His tone sounds like a vow that he is determined to fulfill. He notices that the people around him seem to be going a bit overboard. His words are tinged with slight mockery. He doesn't take everything seriously. He sees the flags with the 5 flowers of the mind fluttering over the central and western countries, and watches the elders from Jian'an and Hwasan. Yin explains that these families are fabulously wealthy and live far from these lands. Their presence speaks of deep respect for the clan leader. There are many guests gathered. The crowd is seething at the main entrance, so there will be plenty of time for conversation. The hero sighs that nothing can be done and asks if he should communicate with people more. The interlocutor waves him off, but advises him to face the truth. Now they have time for a leisurely stroll. He remarks that it's funny to watch Suk Gene Ho hang around with people. It seems to be the only thing he knows how to do. The elders look at him, noticing that there's nothing to see there, just skin and bones. Their words sound slightly mocking. They apologize for their rudeness and ask the young man what clan he is from. Their tone is reserved, as if they are trying to correct their mistake. He introduces himself as Suk Gene Ho, Mr. Suk's fourth son. The man says he sees no point in answering any more questions, but the other man adds that he doesn't even know who they are. He agrees that there's no need to rush, but adds that he knows them. According to him, they are elders of the Jeonnam and Hwasan clans. He offers to help through his servants, but those around him are surprised that he dares to speak to the elders like that. Their reaction sounds like a mixture of shock and displeasure. He makes an offer to go to Hwasan. He offers to become his best warrior or master of Miram. Another elder offers to join Jeonnam, but he declines, citing his reclusive lifestyle. His words sound slightly ironic. Hwasan continues to push his line and says that he will teach him their art, but our guy interrupts them and says that he is already practicing. He notices that the youth of their time do not listen to adults at all. His words sound like mild irritation. Gene Ho adds that he needs to go to his grandfather. The elder tells him to wait and tries to grab his sleeve. The wind swirls around the boy and the old man's hand does not touch him. He is surprised that the other person has turned away. Perhaps he was just lucky. His tone is slightly doubtful. He agrees with the assumption that it is just luck or talent, but adds that he did not expect to meet such a boy here. Yin asks if everything will be okay, considering that these are elders of powerful clans. His interlocutor waves him off, saying that he does not owe them anything. He meets his uncle and explains that he is waiting his turn. He is asked whether he is a guest or a stranger and is offered to follow him out of turn. He wonders if this is possible, but is confirmed. His gratitude sounds sincere, even though he remembers how recently he was ignored. His conversation with the elders clearly interested his uncle. The guy jokes that he wasn't even embarrassed to talk to them. The servant confirms that he has understood his master. His words sound respectful and willing to carry out instructions. The clan leader notices that everyone is pretending to be silent out of fear or just peeking in. Suk Myung and Suk Gene Ho want to meet him. The uncle greets the gentleman and says that he is with Gene Ho. Jin's birthday wishes sound warm, and the mention of Yoon and the nanny adds a touch of concern. He offers a modest gift, adding that usually everyone brags about their achievements. His words ring with sincerity, which he believes is most valuable. The leader notices that the elders of the Jeonnam and Hwasan clans have taken an interest in Gene. His tone is slightly surprised. He asks which of the two clans he wants to choose, but receives the answer that the interlocutor is not interested in either of them. The boy repeats that he wants to continue studying the martial art he has already started. The father laughs and says that his son is not hopeless and has big plans. He offers to start life from scratch, asking if he needs help. However, the guy assures that he can handle it himself. They say goodbye, and the head of the clan sits and thinks. How Hwasan and Jeonnam showed interest in him. What did he do? He notices that the interlocutor spoke to him confidently. Too much change in a short period of time, it seems to him. He decides that it is worth keeping an eye on his interlocutor and orders someone to enter his chambers. The chief tells his servant, who is kneeling, that he must keep an eye on the boy. The servant listens to his master. He notices that there is something about Suk Gene Ho. He realizes that he needs more information about him and his business. The guy notices that one of the problems has been successfully completed. He walks relaxed and puts his hands behind his head. Yin warns him not to say such things out loud, in case someone hears. However, the other person waves him off, assuring him that there is nothing to worry about. Suddenly a man stands in front of him. He asks who it is and expresses his displeasure that he has blocked his way. The fat guy was going to have a nice talk with the guy, but the guy seemed to be looking for a reason to fight. The fat guy is a member of the Yi family. Yin suggests calling someone for help, but is refused. His tone sounds concerned, but he respects the other person's decision. The guy assumes that the interlocutor is simply jealous of him because the elders did not approach him. His words sound with a slight mockery. Gene notices that the interlocutor is completely useless and even fell for his provocation. He goes around him and the fat man falls down. He wonders what happened, and our guy asks if the other guy is ashamed since he just started training and has already won. He's amazed at how easily the fat man attacks him with his fists. His tone sounds with slight surprise and bewilderment. The ill-wisher shouts that it's enough to act like a hero. He reaches his hand to his belt and tries to get the katana. The guy explains that on his part, it is just self-defense. His movements are fast and precise, which even the opponent respects. The gentleman looks at him with a slight mockery, asking if he really thinks he is so smart. His smile suggests that he sees all the moves ahead. The opponent notices that he is dodging again, but the guy says that it is nothing special. Even an idiot could do the same. He feels humiliated in front of everyone. His face expresses a mixture of anger and shame, but he is not going to give up. The master draws his blade, and those around him scream and panic for him to stop. Someone calls for the guards, but he seems to ignore them. The guy knocks the sword out of his hands and asks what he's looking at. This is followed by a strong blow right to the face. Fatty flies to the side from the force of the blow, and our hero grabs the sword that his opponent had just used to try to cut down Gene. He heard that the boy from the Suk family had just recently started training. Rumors of his success had already spread, causing surprise among many. The guard comes out and asks what happened and if the gentleman is okay. He confirms that he is completely fine. The guard decides to address the Yi family directly, adding that they will pay for their actions. But the master says that he wants to finish him off himself. The guy tells him to be glad he didn't draw his sword, otherwise today could have been his opponent's last day. Suk Gene Ho offers to teach him a lesson, but his interlocutor, under threat of death, quickly apologizes, admitting his guilt. He throws the katana down, leaving everything to the guards, not wanting to interfere any further. The indifference in his tone suggests that he has already lost interest in what is happening. The guard assures them that everything will be done properly and asks them not to worry. They catch the cut tail in their hands. The smoothness of the Lord's movements during the fight seemed almost unreal to everyone, causing admiration among the observers. Some girl notices that the guy has really changed a lot. The changes in his behavior and manners have become noticeable to everyone around him. The lady watches what is happening with interest. The situation is becoming more and more exciting, and he cannot tear his eyes away. She decides it's best to grab him now. It may be a risk, but it's better to act than to stand by and wait for him to switch sides. The girl orders to find out everything about that guy, including the smallest details. She thinks that it would be better for her brother to stay at home. The lady says that only she, Suk Ryung, can win. Our boy becomes an important weapon in the war within the clan. A man approaches Yun with a request for help. Although the request is small, he cannot accept what is offered to him. Yin reminds that he does not have the same power as others. No one will dare to contradict him, because he and the master are like brothers. The man heard that the boy had become stronger after training with the master. In addition, rumors about saving the servant added respect to him among those around him. He says that he has been studying Sanja's martial arts for 5 years, but has achieved nothing so far. If the master refuses to take him, he will retreat, because this is his last chance. Yin agrees to try to talk to the gentleman, but immediately warns that one should not get too much hope. The gentleman's character is known to everyone, and he rarely changes his decisions. The master orders Yin to expel anyone who interferes with training. His command sounds harsh, but there is a sense of concern for discipline in it. He asks what the guy is doing here. There is slight bewilderment in his voice, but he is in no hurry to throw his interlocutor out, giving him a chance to explain. Ma Ryung says that she has been friends with Yun since childhood. The master remarks that since Yun did not kick him out, it means that they are really close. He asks if he came to study. The guy honestly admits that he sees no point in starting from the bottom. His straightforwardness earns the gentleman's respect. He asks why he should be accepted. The man assures that he will be useful, and his eyes are full of persistence and determination. He explains that in order for Yun to spend more time training, someone needs to take over some of his responsibilities. His face lights up with the hope of a puppy who sees a treat. The gentleman asks if his name is really young Ma Ryung. The guy confirms, but the gentleman adds that he has no talent at all. The man admits that he has no talent for martial arts. Despite this, he does not give up, as if he knows that persistence is more important than natural ability. His main goal in life is to become independent. He wants to create what he wants, like the Ararat masters who are respected by everyone. However, he understands that with a bare fist you can both kill and save. He He is well aware that he could die at any moment. Life, in his opinion, is given to be challenged. Old memories come flooding back, and the master decides to leave him on probation. He is surprised to be left behind, but the master warns him not to take him too kindly. Ma Ryung meekly agrees, realizing that this is a chance that cannot be missed. The man thanks the gentleman for the chance he has been given. He is allowed to be in the backyard, but is forbidden to enter the house. The guy assures that the gentleman will not regret his decision. Yin notes that the guy was just lucky that the gentleman was there. However, it was the guy who gave him a chance in the first place, and that can't be ignored. Guests come to the gentleman. Their visit causes slight tension, but he does not show it, remaining calm. A guest asks to be taken to the gentleman to deliver a letter from Mrs. Suk Gene Ho. When asked if something is wrong, he dryly replies that he is not here to answer questions. The gentleman asks irritably why everyone decided to ruin his mood today. Yin tries to calm him down, but the guest apologizes for the lack of warning. He asks again if he heard correctly that the problem was with the delivery of a letter from Mrs. Suk Gene Ho. He adds sarcastically that he didn't know that a dog lived in this estate. He is warned that the dog bites. The gentleman jokes that you can't scare mad dogs, causing mixed reactions in those around him. The guest notices that someone has become too bold after their newfound fame. His words sound like a warning, but with a hint of mockery. He decides to teach a lesson on behalf of his mistress. He acts so quickly that the interlocutor does not even have time to react. But our main character quickly dodges at the last moment, leaving the guest to receive a slap in the face from him in surprise. He flies away from a strong blow. The gentleman says that he is sorry because the guest will have to suffer a little longer. He continues to hit the points where the blood circulates. The guest understands that this is a big problem for him. He aims straight at them, as if he is ready to deliver the final blow. There is a determination in his movements that leaves no doubt about the seriousness of his intentions. The guy offers him to taste his fist. His actions are so abrupt that those around him don't even have time to understand what's happening. He notices that weaklings are very fond of wagging their tongues. He throws a handkerchief to the victim so that he can wipe his wounds. He is outraged that someone dared to behave like that in his house. The headache caused by this idiot prevents him from even reading the letter. He decides that they will have to take care of the situation themselves now. His tone is coldly decisive, as if he has already made a plan of action. Someone was informed of everything that had happened. His words sound formal, but there is an underlying tension in them. He explains that he reacted sharply to show that those who feel it is their duty to humiliate him will be dealt with. Now, they will know that he will not let it go unpunished. He adds that if it weren't for his actions, he wouldn't be here. There would only be 2 people at his funeral, and that's what makes him act decisively. The guy was surprised since when he became her property. His tone sounded slightly offended, but she reminded him that she was his older sister. He asked what she wanted, since he was hardly invited here for no reason. She decided to get straight to the point, asking for help. Suk Mi-ryung said she wanted him to help her become the head of the Suk clan. He refused, and she wondered if he had already accepted the brother's offer. He explained that he had not taken sides and was not interested in the matter. She asked if he was going to Ganho and promised to help him achieve whatever he wanted if power fell into her hands. She promised that under his rule the clan would become something he had never even dreamed of. Her words sounded like an attempt to convince him that he had made the right choice. The lady added that it would benefit not only the clan, but himself as well. Her tone was persuasive, as if she were trying to find a weak point in his arguments. He replied that he didn't think it was right. Her surprise was noticeable, as if she hadn't expected such an answer. Suk Mi-ryung wondered if she was right. Once he excelled in martial arts, the attention of the Hwasan and Jeonnam clans had already attracted him. His victory over Hu Ji-soo, an experienced fighter, already spoke volumes. He demonstrated his potential, and she had no reason to doubt his words. The guy said that the lady could cope without his help. She asked to be called simply sister, reminding him that they were not strangers. Her request to spend more time together was warm and hopeful. Suk Mi-ryung admitted that she felt more comfortable with him. Her hope that they would become closer sounded sincere, but she added that she was not one to give up easily. The clan chief was surprised that this young man could defeat an experienced warrior. The master noted that he was very agile during the fight, which commanded respect. He was third in rank, which spoke volumes about his strength. During the fight, he was able to defeat his opponent by aiming at the blood flow. This was not just luck, but skill. The servant apologized for not being able to meet him, but explained that he had left the estate early that morning alone. The question arose as to whether he had been injured during the fight. He noticed that the mountain remained the same, and this helped him not to get lost. His surprised look indicated that he did not expect to see anything familiar. The gentleman was surprised to see the strange object. His question about what it was sounded with slight bewilderment. He realized that it was definitely some kind of weapon. His tone was slightly ironic, as if he hadn't expected to find something like that. He saw two figures, the figure of a girl who was pinned to a tree and had nowhere to go, and a red-skinned devil who was ready to attack. The devil grinned, noticing that he was just looking for a way to amuse himself. His suggestion sounded slightly ironic, as if he was already anticipating the fun. The gentleman intervened and stood between them. Then, with a grin, he suggested that they have some fun together. His tone sounded like a challenge, but with a hint of humor. The red man asked sharply who he was. His tone sounded irritated, but the guy added that it didn't matter who he was. The gentleman emphasized that the only thing that mattered was that he dared to attack a woman in broad daylight. His words sounded like an accusation, and those around him called the attacker a scoundrel and a demon of lust. The guy regretfully noted that you can see even worse things in Ganho. The girl next to him shouted for our hero to be careful. The boy chuckled, asking if it was really considered a surprise attack. His tone was sarcastic, as if he didn't take the threat seriously. The devil was surprised that he could do it. His words sounded with a slight shock, because he expected the enemy to stand like a target. The gentleman stood up and said that this is how the attack should look. At that moment, he suddenly threw the stone and kicked it at the devil. The red man declared that he had asked for it, and now he was finished. His tone was coldly decisive, leaving no doubt as to the seriousness of his intentions. He promised to finish him off with one blow. His words sounded like a challenge, but there was a sense of confidence in his own strength in them. The gentleman asked with a grin if he was really so confident in his predictable attacks. The question sounded like a challenge, but with a slight mockery. Gene said that he was not used to fighting with people who only talk and are proud of themselves. His words sounded with contempt. He explained that he had not killed the enemy, but had simply blocked the acupuncture points. Apparently, that was enough to ensure safety. She thanked him, but he brushed it off, saying it was nothing. His modesty sounded sincere. The lady's uncle asked in surprise what had happened here. Her voice sounded anxious, as if she could not believe what was happening. He apologized, saying it was his fault, as he should have taken better care of her. She countered that it was her own fault, running away thoughtlessly. The boy was surprised that she had reached Ganho alone. The uncle asked what was wrong, noticing that her face was blank. She explained that she had inhaled poison. He promised to try to cleanse her of the toxin by asking her to concentrate her chi energy. He asked her if she was feeling better. She happily replied that she was and thanked him. His face lit up with a smile, as if he was genuinely happy for her. The uncle apologized, saying that he was not himself and forgot to thank her. He introduced himself. His name is Baek Sang-gon, and the girl's name is Peng Na-young. He suggested putting dating aside and focusing on that guy. There was a hint of irritation in his voice, as if he was tired of constantly interfering in other people's affairs. He mentioned that he called himself the demon of lust. His surprise was noticeable, as if he did not expect to hear such a strange nickname. Demons usually have powerful abilities that can crush even experienced warriors. However, the guy who helped her was able to defeat him with just one blow. She saw it with her own eyes and was amazed by his agility. The uncle asked politely who he was. His question sounded with slight curiosity. He was trying to understand who he was dealing with. The lady was surprised that he left without even telling her his name. Her expression indicated that she was slightly puzzled by such behavior. Uncle promised that he would definitely describe him for her. There was no doubt there were few warriors of such level here. She agreed, comparing his strength to a dragon. He reminded them that in the Peng family it was not customary to remain in debt. His words sounded formal, but there was a sense of respect for tradition in them. The guy confidently stated that it was definitely somewhere here. Everything looked the same as before, as if time had stopped here. He was relieved that his memory had not failed him. There was a slight pride in his tone, as if he were pleased with his attentiveness. The gentleman asked in surprise if it was really the cat's thing. Her stubbornness caused him mixed feelings, but he did not insist. He politely asked permission to use a little force. His question sounded slightly ironic, as if he already knew the answer. He asked if the cat was scared when he saw the man's inner strength. His offer to feed him sounded slightly mocking, but there was concern in it. The guy asked her if she liked it. Her silent response indicated that she was too busy to answer. He asked her how 60-year-old ginseng tasted. His question sounded slightly ironic, as if he already knew the answer. The guy noted with satisfaction that he had made the right choice. Energy began to fill his body, and he felt a surge of strength. The master decided to slowly absorb the energy and channel it through his body. For the 100-year-old energy, this was an important process that would connect his strength with the energy of the great battle. He thanked her for watching over him all this time. Her care made him feel warm, and he called her a friend. The guy promised that if they met again, he would definitely repay her. But suddenly he realized that the cat wanted to go with him. He agreed to her proposal, although not without doubts. His tone sounded slightly ironic, as if he did not fully believe in the success of the undertaking. He decided to give her a name, Churnish. His idea sounded slightly playful, but there was a sense of sincere affection in it. The gentleman says that the territory is now under the protection of the cat. It is unknown how long he will remain in this estate, but for now there is nothing to worry about. The henchman expressed displeasure that he had left without leaving a note or even warning them. Their concern was obvious, but he only smiled in response. He noticed that they were all right. He also asked his aunt how she was feeling and how the rest of the team was feeling. The gentleman noted with satisfaction that he had done everything he had planned. The cat's sudden appearance had surprised them, but they had quickly recovered. The boy named the cat Churnish, deciding that from that day on he would live with them. The thought that such a small ball of fur would become subordinate made him laugh. He asked why Churnish looked so dangerous. It turned out that the cat had eaten enough ginseng, and now his body had accumulated enormous power. Mariong was surprised that the cat was so strong. Even he was not recognized and was still on probation. His thoughtfulness did not escape the people around him. He was a little nervous when he saw them. The guy asked how their training was going and praised them for their diligence. His words sounded with a little pride. He was happy about their success. The man nodded obediently, confirming the order. His eyes showed readiness to carry out any order without delay. Mariong practices hard, punching the air with her fists, just like he used to do. The cat next to her yawns and meows. He raised an eyebrow, asking the cat in surprise if he had time for nonsense. He tilted his head slightly and asked if the cat considered himself superior to him. The gentleman burst out laughing when he heard the reproach. He winked playfully and asked whether he had quarreled with the cat or whether the cat had offended him. Mariong, noticing how his eyes sparkled, told the master that this was no ordinary cat. The master was skeptical about this statement. He sees Churnish sprawled out on the windowsill. The only one being bullied here is Ryan. The cat gives him a slap on the back of the head. He shook his head, looking at the cat. The gentleman thought about it and decided it would be better not to anger him, remembering his tricks. Churnish suddenly jumped up to the shelf and started poking around with his paw. It seemed like he was trying to point out something important, but his efforts looked comical. The sudden sound made him flinch. The cat fell on its paws, which surprised the man very much. He didn't know that cats could do that. Churnish curled up on the windowsill, but there was a feeling of something more in the air. The gentleman confirmed that this was a spirit cat. The silence was broken by footsteps outside the door. A whisper was heard that guests had apparently arrived. The gentleman was already looking towards the new people. The door swung open and a servant entered the room, head bowed respectfully. He announced that the clan leader was waiting to meet him. The clan leader sat in his chair, his fingers drumming nervously on the armrest. The cold remark about fugitives not giving notice of their departure was made with the slightest shadow of a smile. His shoulders tensed, but his voice remained calm. The thought that truth cuts and lies kills flashed through his mind as the formal words were spoken. The window swung open, letting the wind in. The curtains danced, as if trying to escape the room. The wind whispered that the house was not a cage, but the walls were silent. The lamp's shadow flickered on the wall, repeating an old argument. An echo of the past reminded her that daughters fly away, but sons remain. Saying goodbye was not easy. The thought of leaving home was hesitant, but the decision had already been made. The question of whether there was another reason for his departure hung in the air. The answer was dry, but with a slight note of regret. The words that no one would believe the old excuses anymore sounded ironic. Obviously, much about the escape had already become known. The plan to escape from the estate, apparently, had been brewing for a long time. The events of the last few days had only strengthened the resolve. The question, asked with a serious expression on his face, demanded an honest answer. A tense silence fell over the room. The idea of doing something after leaving caused a skeptical smile. Doubts that everything would be easy were heard in every word. The suggestion to raise a dragon was met with only an indifferent look. The answer was short: brothers should do this. The legacy of Buddha, flowing in the blood, was mentioned with respect. The answer that it was only half was given with a little bitterness. The request to stay at least until the birthday was warmly expressed. Memories of walks with Grandpa added a touch of nostalgia. The request was made with hope, but the answer was short. The room fell silent, as if waiting for further words. The conversation turned to the fact that there was something unusual about him. The question of his opinion evoked a thoughtful look, but the answer was simple. He had changed a lot. Doubts about whether anything could be changed in such a short period of time were clearly present. Pity for the situation was mixed with regret about the lost potential. The explanation for the delay was given with a slight smile. The visit to Ms. Suk Ryung added a note of warmth to the story. Chernish suddenly appeared, distracting attention from the monologue. His help turned out to be invaluable, and his appetite was truly brutal. The order was carried out without further ado. The desire to spend time in peace sounded like a hint of fatigue. The Suk estate finally came into view. A feeling inside told me that this place would be enough to hide from all the problems, at least for a while. The estate looked lived in, as if someone actually lived there. There was a sense of presence in the air, even though no one was visible. The question of whether they could come in was asked with a little nervousness. The guests quickly reassured them, explaining that they simply wanted to express their gratitude. Introducing themselves as Baek Sangon of the Pung family, they asked that Mr. Suk Gene Ho be informed of their visit. The meeting with the man in beige was a surprise. They had not seen each other for a long time, and the question about the reason for the visit sounded with slight caution. The guests politely explained that they wanted to meet Suk Gene Ho. Their request was reflected negatively on the face of the interlocutor. They expressed a desire to thank the gentleman personally and asked him to show them the way. The question was asked with hope, but not intrusively. The boy nodded and offered to follow him. His movements were calm, as if he was used to such visits. The thought of how they had managed to meet him at all was puzzling. Questions were spinning in their heads, but there were no answers yet. The guests greeted them on behalf of the Pung family, explaining that they had come to personally thank them for the recent incident. The invitation to enter was warm, even though the house was clearly no palace. The guests thanked the young gentleman for accompanying them, but confidently declared that they could manage on their own. The question of whether he should come with them remained unanswered. He suggested sending someone later to escort the guests to their room, and he asked his minion to look after them. She raised her eyebrows in surprise at the question. Her answer was slightly ironic. She had not expected such a proposal. The thought that friendship with them would ensure a place in the sun brought a slight smile. The plan seemed clear, but there was a sense of risk in them. They wanted to keep the meeting private, but the situation had gotten out of hand. The question of whether they had missed something important hung in the air. He reassured her that everything was fine and added that Suk Gene Ho was simply surprised. The girl's uncle was shocked that the gentleman did not notice her. Suk Gene Ho noticed her immediately, but his attention was drawn to the strange object lying on the table. She held out a small gift, explaining that it was their family's plaque, and spoke with pride about the privileges she would unlock. He looked at the gift in surprise, and at how she called it small. The question of what she considered large hung in the air. She held the gift in her hands insistently, as if she was not going to back down until he accepted it. He accepted her gifts, and the lady was very happy. The guy says that he should be the one to thank in this situation. The money was carefully folded into the purse. Each coin jingled, reminding him of the impending escape from the Empire. The plan seemed risky, but necessary. She looked around the room, checking to see if the guests were comfortable enough. Her gaze slid over the soft pillows and lit candles. The paws stretched, as if waiting for her to add something important. Her fingers fiddled with the edge of the scroll, but no words came out. She asked if it was that noticeable. Her fingers tightened on the hem of her dress, and her lips twitched, trying to hide her embarrassment. The challenge came unexpectedly. Eyebrows rose in surprise, but only a short nod followed in response. The sword was already in his hand, ready for combat. She took up her sword, ready to begin. The young master nodded, accepting the challenge. Their shadows froze on the floor, reflecting the tense silence. The lady suddenly attacked him with her interesting weapon. She promises to give it her all in this fight. With a blow of her scythe, she caused shock waves of blue color. Our protagonist quickly and easily began to dodge them. She stopped abruptly, looking around. Not a single attack had landed, and it was a slight irritation. Her fingers tightened on the hilt of her sword, preparing for the next blow. Now it was his turn. His legs were slightly apart, his body tense like a spring ready to fire. He didn't even use all his strength, but the blow was accurate. His reaction was fast, his movements were honed, as if he had been training for years. It felt like he was anticipating every move. Every step, every swing of his sword, it all seemed like part of his plan. But the lady managed to dodge and prepare to strike him from above with her scythe. This blow could be the last and decisive one. At this distance, the advantage was on her side. The attack would be irresistible, and he would not be able to avoid it. She strikes, but he thrusts his katana into the ground as he runs, pushes off of her, and strikes with all his might, knocking the scythe out of her hands. Now her scythe is in the hand of the master. He caught it and put it to the throat of the mistress, but not in order to kill, but to end the fight with his superiority. The boy smiled modestly, admitting that he didn't have much experience. His gaze slid around the training hall, as if looking for a clue. He noted good technique and fast attacks, but added that the movements were too predictable. The question about surprise attacks sounded with a slight doubt. The lady suggested they fight again tomorrow, and he agreed. There was a glint of excitement in her eyes, as if she was already imagining how she would improve her skills. She and her uncle exchanged views on the training. Her surprise at his abilities was noticeable, especially after he matched the 6 dragons. He asks if his girl likes him that much, but he understands that everything is already visible in her. Her eyes and smile speak for her. She wondered if he really wanted to see the limits of his abilities. After a pause, he nodded, as if deciding it was worth the effort. She suggested that she get to know him better when she had the chance. The idea of thanking him for his help brought an approving nod. The clan leader, Suk Gene Ho, was surprised to see how much Gene Ho had changed. His eyes lit up with interest, as if she wanted to know more. The boy who could barely speak just a moment ago is now so confident that he rejected the offer of the elders Wasan and Zhongchim. The leader could barely contain his laughter when he learned that the Quiet One was a hidden dragon. The rumors that Lady Im had rejected Prince Gene only fueled his curiosity. The man stubbornly stood his ground, as if his opinion was the law of the universe. The senior mentor only sighed, looking at the obstinate student. The leader frowned, considering his next move. Perhaps interfering now would cause more trouble than good. Il decided to personally talk to Gene Ho, despite his young age. The guy seemed smarter than expected, but putting his plans into practice was not an easy task. The Tung clan, located on the outskirts, was renowned for its strategists. Their intelligence could have turned the game around if it weren't for the constant feuds between the families. It seems that Prince Jin Ryong has been ignored by the clans. Lord Peng dreamed of getting his hands on the Jade Leaf, an artifact that could change the balance of power. Gene Ho coldly asked to convey the message to Ren Hu. The youth clearly had no intention of tolerating nonsense, even if it spoiled the relationship between the clans. Meeting Gene Ho and a cute, beautiful, fluffy cat after a long separation caused mixed feelings. Uncle Val appeared unexpectedly, as always. His visits rarely promised anything good, but it was impossible to refuse the elder. The rumors about Gene Ho's changes turned out to be true. The young man firmly stated that he would continue to improve himself. His childhood years were behind him. The boy reminded with a smile that he was only 17. However, he already felt like an adult, although those around him seemed not to notice his changes. The young man asked ironically if they had heard of Galba Soka's methods of growing up. His tone suggested that such methods would hardly work for everyone. Gene Ho sincerely thanked his uncle for his help. He was one of the heads of the Suk clan, being the illegitimate son of the clan head. He was the only one who understood Suk Gene Ho. The boy never ignored him and always remained a loyal friend. After meeting the Kata clan, Uncle often visited Gene Ho and spent time with him. The promise he made back then still weighed heavily on him. The boy knew he had to show respect to the young man. However, his plans could upset the delicate balance between the clans. The uncle laughed when he learned that the boy he remembered from the cradle had been able to figure him out. His words sounded with a bit of pride. He noted that the interlocutor was completely unable to hide his emotions. After a pause, he suggested telling him everything that was bothering him. Uncle thought about the possible danger. They needed a force similar to Sands. The brothers had been eyeing these lands for a long time. So far they had no evidence, only guesses. However, the enemy's plan could be realized at any moment. They were definitely planning something terrible. The strongest of the warriors, Peck, was no ordinary soldier. It seemed impossible to persuade him. Yesterday, Uncle had arranged a meeting with him, but he was busy. Rumors of his special relationship with Mrs. Peng only added to the confusion. The protagonist denied the rumors, claiming that they barely knew each other. They tried to negotiate, but so far to no avail. Uncle offered to organize the meeting, assuring that he could handle the rest of the work himself. His confidence seemed unshakable, as if he had thought out every step in advance. Suk Diak Wool reminded them of yesterday's agreement, introducing himself formally. His gaze slid over his interlocutor, as if trying to determine whether he was really talking to the head of the Sukpung Pyaguka clan. The guest apologized for the incident the day before, although all the participants had already met. She doubted that the reason for their invitation was limited to formalities. He politely addressed the man, asking if he was Mr. Sok. There was hope in her voice as she began to formulate her request. His help to his mistress was not dictated by self-interest, but by deep respect. Every action of a young man reflected devotion to duty and not personal ambitions. Gene stated that his future plans were not related to the recent events, trying to avoid misunderstandings. The guy returned the item to Mr. Beck, adding that he had an important proposal. With a little trust, they could reap the double benefit of satisfying their curiosity and gaining valuable experience. His words were convincing, despite the hidden meaning. The guest's voice wavered as he tried to clarify what was hidden behind the mentioned curiosity. Doubts were visible in every gesture. The boy noted that his interest in Genju, one of the best bandits, was not accidental. Every action of the young man raised questions that required answers. The guest asked if she was confident in her abilities to confront Genju. If she had any doubts, he suggested testing her abilities in practice. Doubts were in the air about whether Gene Ho could withstand Beck's iron fist. His strength seemed insurmountable, but the young man had no intention of giving up. Mr. Sok was stronger than expected. His apology sounded sincere, but there was a hidden determination behind it. He asked if he was ready for the challenge ahead. The wish of good luck was warm, but with a hint of trepidation. A strange, almost unbearable energy emanated from him. It seemed that his every gesture was filled with a hidden power that overwhelmed those around him. The guest didn't even realize how he had used the power of the divine fist. The thought that he was capable of such a thing made him slightly confused. The first step was to find a way to deal with his incredible speed. Without it, the chances of winning seemed slim. He put his strength into a quick and powerful strike, but froze in surprise. Nothing happened. Gene Ho remained unharmed. His movements were so fast that they could barely be traced. Each step seemed calculated, as if he knew in advance how it would all end. The difference in their levels was obvious. Finding a weakness required carefully analyzing his every move and preparing counterattack. He decided to fight with all his might, despite the risks. This was the only way to understand what the enemy was capable of and to take action. The energy emanating from the enemy seemed almost unreal. Each of his steps was filled with confidence, as if he knew the outcome of the fight in advance. His only goal was to demonstrate his capabilities. Every movement showed that he was ready to go to the end. The enemy suddenly closed the distance, catching them off guard. Such tactics required an instant reaction, but there was no time to think. While one was thinking about strategy, the other was already acting. The speed and determination of the opponent left little chance for a successful counterattack. It seemed that every step of the enemy was predictable, but the force with which he attacked was overwhelming. It seemed impossible to cope with such an onslaught. The tension in the air grew with each passing second. Both fighters demonstrated incredible endurance, but the outcome of the fight remained unclear. With each blow, it became clear that the enemy was not going to give in. His determination was unwavering, and his strength was terrifying. The idea of seeing the limits of his opponent's capabilities was haunting. However, the chances of this happening seemed slim. The risk was great, but retreating no longer made sense. The enemy called for a full-force attack, leaving no room for doubt. Up until this point, he had used only a fraction of his strength, but now the situation had changed. The certainty of victory seemed indisputable, and the chances of retreat were disappearing. The strength of the Peng clan was truly impressive. Every move of the enemy showed incredible strength and skill that was hard to ignore. The divine fist technique seemed to go beyond human capabilities. Its power was so great that it evoked admiration and fear at the same time. Going that far was risky, but there was no other way out. Every step forward required enormous concentration and strength. He reassured those around him that everything was under control. His calm inspired confidence, although the situation remained tense. Yin expressed concern, fearing the possible consequences. However, he was confident that the master would cope. That was the end of it. The enemy seemed to have seen enough to understand who he was dealing with. The result was completely in line with Mr. Sok's expectations. Even those who had doubts could no longer deny his mastery. He asked if everything was okay, emphasizing that such talent should be developed, not hidden. His words sounded sincere, as if he wanted to help someone important to him. Gene Ho, everything was going according to plan. An approving nod was the answer to the young man's successful actions. The more information about him was collected, the more respect grew. It was time to prepare a report for the clan. News of a meeting with the Dragon Sok would definitely attract attention. His actions were puzzling. Every decision seemed logical, but his true goals remained a mystery. Sukpung Payaguk territory. Possible cooperation looked like a diversion. The situation required extreme caution. The plan required adjustments. Strengthening the ranks of guards became a priority to minimize the risk of escapes. Now, this was a secondary concern. The main task was to find the escapees. Such an escape alone was impossible. The certainty of their involvement seemed hasty. Evidence was needed before conclusions could be drawn. Empty eyes and torn documents, the worry seemed unnecessary, but anxiety was still in the air. Since Mr. Peck personally vouched for this, there was no alternative. Their persistence made it impossible to refuse. The hope for a successful outcome did not leave him. Despite all the difficulties, he believed that everything would work out for the best. He reassured those around him that he was okay. How could he remain calm when there was chaos all around? However, there was no need to worry. Gene Ho could stand up for himself. And yet, the old acquaintance will soon see what Gene Ho is capable of. His changes will become obvious to everyone. The changes in Mr. Gene Ho were noticeable to everyone. His growth and development were impressive, leaving those around him in admiration. Gene Ho stood in the center of the room, his figure more imposing than before. His once simple clothes now emphasized his status, and his gaze expressed unwavering determination. The bald man surrendered and begged for mercy. His palm involuntarily squeezed the hilt of the sword, and beads of sweat ran down his face. The guard stepped forward sharply, blocking the way. The weapon in his hands flashed in the sun, and his voice sounded like a warning. Invading these lands will not go unpunished. The crowd rushed forward, shouting that the protagonist would regret daring to invade the land. At that moment, our guy pulled his katana out of its sheath and began to chop down the crowd of ill-wishers, moving further and further. The rumors about Gene Ho's increased strength turned out to be true. Now, every movement of the young man resembled a hurricane, leaving traces even on the stone slabs. The spectators froze, amazed by what they saw. A voice from the thicket demanded an immediate answer. The shadows in the forest did not move, but the tension grew. The questioner's patience was running out with each passing second. The chieftain clenched his fists as he stepped closer, his face contorted with anger, as if every previous action of the offender had filled the cup of patience to the brim. A frightened glance slid over the crowd, as if seeking support. How can you call yourself bandits if fear paralyzes your every move? The mess that had happened had already upset everyone. However, instead of apologizing, he decided to bring the girl, as if that could fix everything. Our hero provokes the chieftain to attack. He wants to quickly end this battle, not allowing himself to be defeated. He grabbed the opponent's sword with his bare hands, without using a weapon. Surprise was reflected on the faces of those around him, as if they could not believe their eyes. The impossible seemed real. The situation developed in such a way that even skeptics began to doubt their beliefs. One by one, he defeated all his allies. Now it was the turn of the main enemy, and the outcome of the fight seemed predetermined. The idea that he had been defeated by someone so insignificant was repulsive. However, the facts spoke for themselves. He could barely contain his irritation as he watched what was happening. It seemed like the situation was getting out of control, but giving up was not in his rules. Everyone present had been defeated. It was urgent to report what had happened to prevent further losses. It was necessary to use everything that came to hand and run. The enemy did not leave a chance, even if it seemed cruel. The girl's appearance caused mixed feelings. On the one hand, it seemed ridiculous. On the other, her presence added tension. If a girl can stand up for herself, then why can't he? The thought made him smile slightly, but his eyes showed approval. She had learned from the best, and it showed. Now all that was left was to find the remaining opponents to finish what she had started. Suddenly, there was a suspicion that he might try to harm himself. It was necessary to check if something dangerous was hidden. Such attentiveness deserved respect. In such matters, mistakes could not be allowed. Every detail mattered. Peng Jin-guk asked for more details about the Suk clan's chief disciple. The interest in this man was clearly not accidental. At the moment, he was considered the main contender for the throne. His abilities were beyond doubt, although there was no official announcement yet. There was nothing special about him. His lack of talent prevented him from being declared a successor. How could such a man dare to propose to his daughter? The impudence of this act caused indignation. However, the senior advisor remained calm, as if such behavior was not unexpected for him. Previously, he led a modest life, even tried to commit suicide. Now this guy has mastered the power of 6 dragons, which caused bewilderment and respect. He led the operation to bring back the escapees. The conditions offered by Sukpung Pyonggukko seemed acceptable this time. The good news was that they were not only interested in profit. Perhaps it would be worthwhile to sort out the situation before rumors started to spread. The thought of the possible consequences was a little unsettling. He asked about the fourth young master, expressing a desire to meet him in person. The interest in this person was clearly not accidental. Her admiration was obvious. The question of whether she liked something sounded with genuine interest. Now everything had changed. The thought of reward did not arouse his enthusiasm, although it had previously been an important motive. She was genuinely glad that she had managed to do a good deed. The news that His Majesty had asked him to stay was a surprise. Nothing terrible happened. The main thing is that His Majesty recognized his merits. In addition, the head of Pyaguk expressed a desire to see him again. She declared that she was ready to follow him to the ends of the earth. Her devotion was beyond doubt. Suddenly, someone began to shout and call him. The scream sounded loud, as if he couldn't contain his emotions. That was the whole point of it, sincere and loud, but not devoid of meaning. Suddenly, he saw Ma Ryong. All beaten up, bruised and scratched, he asked in rage, "Who did this?" Now he needs to deal with these people. The noise coming from it was so loud that it attracted the attention of everyone around it. It seemed that this was its whole essence, bright, loud, and uncontrollable. He was not quiet, and his manner of communication left a vivid impression. The question of who had arranged all this was in the air, but there was no answer yet. Marin seemed confused. His name was the topic of conversation again, but the reason remained a mystery. He says it's a long story. In the end, it turns out that he was beaten up during an argument with his subordinates. The subordinates of the Hojie Te Palace always attract those who have no one to stand up for them. But is this fair? He recalled that he himself had spoken about a trial period. However, now it was necessary to give a clear answer to avoid misunderstandings. They pay for getting to my man. Ma Ryong is very surprised and happy with the recognition from his master. When he asked who they were talking about, the answer sounded hasty. It seemed that something was hidden behind these words. The master says that by touching his servant they have insulted him. Now he has come to the palace to sort things out. "Sir, what are you doing here?" The question sounded with slight bewilderment. He asked me to tell Ren that he had come to see him. His presence was necessary to resolve important issues. Hot? Hearing this towards his servant, rage and anger boiled in his veins. He was ready to explode on the spot. Do you think he'll turn a blind eye to this? There was no time to explain, and there was no need. He was already ready to deal with them. The question about the aura sounded with obvious irritation. It seemed he had not expected such a turn of events. He insulted the master and his subordinate. Despite the contractual relationship, the situation got out of control. The commander asks what has happened here, the fourth young gentleman. The question sounded with obvious displeasure. Commander of the Hojie Te Palace, Bong Wu Ryong. This guy is clearly overestimating himself, and you should take care of this. He has become so brazen that he has forgotten about the honor of a warrior. The line cannot be crossed, but he does not seem to understand this. The power emanating from him was palpable, but not directed at anyone in particular. It seemed he was simply demonstrating his capabilities, not intending to cause harm. His movements were precise and confident, as if every action had been thought out in advance. His gaze slid over those around him, assessing their reactions. Despite its power, it did not look threatening. Rather, it was a display of skill that commanded respect. No matter how much a genius he was, he always found a way to dodge. His ability to withstand attacks seemed incredible, but that only emphasized his strength. He not only took the blows, but responded with equal intensity. It seemed that his endurance knew no bounds. The idea of ending it all with one blow was in the air, but it was easier said than done. What are you capable of doing? The question sounded with obvious doubt. His opponent clearly underestimated his capabilities. The real Gene Ho would have apologized to his commander long ago. But the time for games was over, and it was time to act. He had no intention of giving in. Every step he took was aimed at showing who was boss. It was incredible, but he was able to defeat the commander. Was it really the fourth young master? The question hung in the air. Now he will have to answer for the mistakes of his subordinates. The commander clearly did not expect such a turn of events. The leader of HEIR, Ma Chong-sung, watched the events closely. He knew that everyone had to be responsible for their actions. This man had been the leader of HEIR for years. He was one of those who truly deserved respect. He closed his eyes to the last time, but next time everything will be different. The speed of his decisions was always impressive. He had made a huge mistake, but he had admitted it. Now all that was left was to fix the situation. Well, what do you say? It's okay. Everyone can make mistakes. I hope the conflict is now resolved. It seems the Sa clan has a new target. The interest in him was clearly not accidental. From then on, Ma Rin and Yun began to train hard. After accepting him as his subordinate, he began to act more confidently. Now you have to try even harder not to let your master down. But it wasn't only Ma Rin who was sometimes annoying. At first, he couldn't get used to their noisy behavior. Now it has become part of his routine. Nanny, is everything ready? The question sounded with slight impatience. He had already started preparing, despite the early hour. They suddenly had a guest. He is from the Nyan clan, Nyan Myung-tong, the elder brother of Yun. His presence always commanded respect. He seemed to know how to handle any situation. Despite his status, he remained simple and accessible. This made him even more significant in the eyes of others. Na Young's older brother. His name sounded respectful, as if everyone who spoke it understood the significance of this figure. He apologized for his sudden appearance, explaining that a letter would take too long. His visit was unexpected but necessary. The brother insisted on fulfilling his obligations, even though it might cause awkwardness. He had no choice, and it was obvious. He wanted to meet the man who had turned his little sister's head. However, she warned him that blood relationship would not be an excuse for leniency. The sword, crafted by a master from Elder Svishi, was offered as a gift. It was accepted with gratitude, understanding the value of such a gift. He could hardly believe that this sword was now his weapon. The thought of it caused a mixture of surprise and pride. He was surprised to note that this girl was capable of such expressive emotions. Her absence from home had been causing concern to those around her for a month. The father could do nothing, as he was only third in the family hierarchy. This limitation was irritating, but there was no way to change the situation. He acknowledged that he had no say in the matter, being in last place. This position made him feel powerless, but he tried not to show it. They seemed to get along well with each other. His energy was pure, unadulterated, which inspired trust and respect. Rumors of his amazing control over his inner strength had reached him, and the thought of fighting him was exciting, but asking for it now seemed inappropriate. Having received such a beautiful sword, he wanted to test it immediately. The offer to join him was met with enthusiasm. He felt that the upcoming meeting would not be easy. However, this did not cause fear, but only fueled interest. This would be a great training session for Ryan and Yun. It was a good decision to do it, and it was an opportunity that shouldn't be missed. The brother was ready. The understanding between them grew with each passing minute, making the upcoming test even more significant. It was expected that he would be unsure, as he was not yet accustomed to the new sword. However, his movements were precise and confident. They clashed in battle, and then Brother Yon began to feel that same ominous and wild aura. He became scared and confused. So this is how they hide the master's secret weapon. The thought sounded with surprise and admiration. He was shocked. The expectation of his brother's victory turned to disappointment when he was easily pushed away. No, he hadn't lost. The thought of it made him gather his strength despite his fatigue. He wasn't going to let it end that easily. The determination in his eyes spoke of his readiness to fight to the end. There was no second to lose. Every moment required maximum concentration and effort. The situation had become too tense. It was necessary to act quickly, although it would require considerable effort. He had faced great warriors in his past life. The idea that someone could defeat him seemed absurd. It wouldn't be a quick finish. However, this was a great opportunity for training, and he intended to make the most of it. His ability to remain calm in this situation was astonishing. The idea of using his last trump card was in the air, but he decided to show all the power inherited from the ancestors of the Peng clan. Brother Young uses the divine lightning technique, and the blue rays from his sword fill the battlefield. He hopes that with this attack, he can snatch victory for himself. But Gene Ho easily reflects his divine lightning with his red ominous energy, and the battle becomes intense. He lowered his weapon, admitting defeat. His posture was tired, and his eyes expressed a mixture of frustration and relief that the fight was over. Nayan's lack of support left a bitter taste in her mouth. Perhaps she knew how it would end, which only added to the feeling of bewilderment. The defeat was an unexpected but valuable lesson. A smile crossed his face as he offered to share the meal, showing respect for his opponent. His agreement to the dinner sounded sincere, especially after Nayan's praise. The rumors about the opponent's skill turned out to be true, which caused a mixture of admiration and annoyance. The opponent's skills exceeded all expectations. Even his uncle, known for his criticality, could not find any flaws in his technique. Our main character thinks that becoming related to them is not such a bad idea. He begins to look for ways to bring his plan to life. Gene Ho had built an impeccable reputation for himself. His successes made one wonder how long it would take the world to learn of his connection to the head of the Peng clan. Peng's rejection of Gene Run did not stop with words. Her offensive gesture became the talk of the town. This act added fuel to the fire of a long-standing conflict. He was worried. It seemed like the Peng clan was deliberately avoiding helping Pyaguku, which put their future cooperation in doubt. Impatience grew with each passing minute. The wait for the outcome of events became unbearable, but it was too late to retreat. The impatience grew with each passing minute. The thought of what would happen this time did not give me any peace, making my heart beat faster. Gene Ho is already here. His presence immediately attracted attention, as if he was the center of everyone's interest. He apologized for not being able to meet the guest in person, citing preparations for the event. However, the guest noted that everything went smoothly thanks to his people. The gentleman looked out the window the whole way, not feeling the slightest worry. The rooms were already prepared for him, but first he had to go to the banquet hall. The flags of all the countries participating in the event adorned the hall. This spectacle emphasized the scale of the event and its international significance. The chance of meeting a two-faced idiot increased tenfold thanks to this event. His gaze slid around the room, as if looking for someone specific. The recent incident had undermined the status of the Pyaguka clan, and now no one approached them. Everyone was focused on strengthening their positions, and representatives of different clans were getting to know each other. The sparring and strength competitions were a great opportunity for all involved, but many of them seemed ready to challenge him personally. Organizing youth events spoke to a desire to understand what the next generation was capable of. Although he didn't particularly care, he decided to put the thoughts aside and focus on food. The dishes on the table looked so appetizing that it made your mouth water. It seemed that delicacies from all corners of the region were gathered here. He left for a while, asking Chernish to stay with his aunt. His absence did not go unnoticed, but no one asked any unnecessary questions. The boy walked towards someone obviously important. The question of who it could be remained unanswered, but there was determination in his eyes. Something had clearly happened. The heir of the Byaguk clan had challenged the heir of Jongsong Byaguk, causing a wave of confusion and indignation. His proposal was rejected, which caused surprise. The question of why this happened was in the air, but there was no answer. Such fights were usually agreed upon in advance. However, the Byaguk clan was not going to blindly obey all the demands, which caused tension. The tension in the air was palpable. The brother and sister seemed less than thrilled about what was happening, but their reactions remained muted. The heir of the Pyaguka clan clearly did not have good intentions. His actions were suspicious, but no one dared to confront him openly. The guy interrupted the conversation to check if the other guy was really from Jongsong Pyaguk. The question sounded a little doubtful, but the interest was obvious. The audacity of interrupting the conversation caused a violent reaction. The question of who dared to do such a thing hung in the air, but there was no answer. Did he just disappear? What happened? The thought sounded with obvious bewilderment, but the situation required a quick reaction. Hey, isn't that the tiger of the Suk clan? The one who single-handedly took down a group of bandits? Yeah, that's definitely him. So is his doing. The thought sounded with surprise. The sudden appearance caused a mixture of interest and caution. He introduced himself as Palm One Gang of the Byaguk clan. The relationship between their clans, to put it mildly, left much to be desired. What happened between them? The news of the Pyaguka clan's connection with the bandits had already spread throughout the world. They were said to have been defeated, but some claimed otherwise. The guy admitted that he was surprised. The open declaration of defeat was unexpected, especially from those who were used to acting covertly. He assumed they were going through hard times to decide to air everything that had been building up. Perhaps it was a way to avoid a public conflict. Ho-ho, he didn't expect his words to hurt. However, there was not a drop of lies in them, which made the situation even more tense. He planned to choose his opponent in front of witnesses, but Suk Gene Ho ruined everything. His intervention disrupted the plans, causing irritation. Now that they had met, perhaps Mr. Suk would become his training partner and give him a few lessons. The thought brought a slight smile to his face, although no one was pulling his hand. A mock fight is only effective if there is a solid foundation and equal training. His remark about the shortcomings was sharp, but not intended to offend. He suggested calling the instructor, but the idea of asking Hebei Peng for help was questionable. The idea seemed ridiculous. Jongsong Pyaguk was an opponent of the right level. A fight between them seemed like a great idea if both sides agreed. All parties agreed to participate. This decision was an important step in preparation for the upcoming event. Pyaguk wondered what Mr. Suk was betting on in this fight. Although no one would get hurt, he should still think carefully about his actions. The discussion was over. The meeting on the last day of the event promised to be tense, but he hoped that no one would run away in fear. Did he seriously think that a weakling like Du Juyun could be a serious opponent? The thought of this caused a mixture of doubt and interest. What's going on here? Are Palm One Gang and Juyun going to fight? It even sounds ridiculous. He apologized for interfering, but decided to take matters into his own hands. His remark about his younger brother's low level was puzzling. He was not the type to put his reputation on the line for unworthy people. He promised to do everything possible for this purpose. His determination was unwavering, which commanded respect. Mr. Suk had personally chosen him. The thought of it brought a mixture of pride and excitement, although he tried not to show his emotions. He was surprised by his sister's reaction, but explained that he was glad to have the opportunity to learn from such a person. Rumors are not always true, and he urged her not to believe everything she heard. He offered to invite them for soup, but the question of who was behind the door remained unanswered. Mr. Suk Gene Ho's subordinate passed on the invitation for dinner. He came to tell them that the gentleman was inviting them to dinner. The news was met with mild surprise, but interest. The thought of whether he should be trusted hung in the air. Perhaps he wanted to fix them so he could recall the Pac-Mac. But even if that was the case, he was willing to entertain the idea. They arrived. The invitation to enter was calm, but with a note of expectation. They had a long conversation ahead of them. The thought of it caused a mixture of interest and slight tension. He offered to sit down, hinting at the long conversation that was to follow. His gestures were confident, although the topic was clearly difficult. The kid decided to introduce himself, calling himself Du Juyun. The gratitude for the help sounded sincere, but the question of the reasons remained open. He understood their doubts. In today's world, people rarely act without ulterior motives. However, his help was an attempt to repay his predecessor's debt. One day, he found himself in the mountains, weaker than Suk Gene Ho. That day, he was on the verge of death, and only a miracle saved him. At the moment when his body no longer obeyed, a goal appeared before his eyes. He resigned himself to his fate, but fate gave him a chance. The boy remembered how someone lit a fire and saved him. This person became a symbol of hope and strength for him. He was from the Zhongxian clan. He offered the boiled rice balls as if it were more than just food, his gestures conveying concern and respect. This memory remained the brightest for him. It became a source of strength and inspiration in the most difficult moments. The guy decided to act exactly like that, despite his modest capabilities. Being an ordinary person, he did not have much money, but this did not stop him. He was surprised that they were going to listen to him. However, first he wanted to know something to better understand the situation. The gentleman had heard that Gyeongsang was one of the 10 most powerful countries in the past. This knowledge aroused respect and interest in their history. Their country had vast territories and was one of the most influential countries in the Central Plains. However, the Pyeongguk clan hired bandits to steal their goods. The father died in the war trying to protect the treasures of their land. The mother left in search of help but never returned. Mom never came back. How many obstacles fell to her lot because she is no longer a child? He apologized for bringing up painful memories, but she responded that it made her stronger and that she knew she couldn't give up. The boy offered to follow him. His confidence and determination inspired confidence, although the path ahead seemed difficult. He demonstrated excellent control of his body, turning every movement into art. His actions spoke of a deep understanding of martial techniques. Although he was still weak physically, his spirit grew stronger every day. This was evident in his determination and tenacity. With a few training sessions, he could have become a good fighter. His potential was obvious, although it would take time to develop. His speech was a little harsh, but sincere. Every word sounded confident, although sometimes it lacked diplomacy. The guy moved with ease, but it was all because his muscles were overloaded. Despite the fatigue, he continued to train without giving up. He decided not to interfere, realizing that this was her chance to become stronger. It was an opportunity that could not be missed, and he supported her determination. She admitted that she had turned a blind eye to what was happening for too long. Now, it was her turn to act, and she was ready for it. The guy says it's his turn to hit and gets into a stance and shouts the cue, striking forward. But the gentleman quickly teaches the little one not to be blindly confident in his abilities and puts him in his place. That was enough for today. He offered to continue later, but she needed to rest. His concern for her well-being was obvious. He agreed with her decision, understanding that rest is an important part of the training process. The next day brought a feeling of strength. She felt more confident than before, which inspired her to new achievements. He asked what she meant. Yesterday had been a difficult day, but the flow of energy had become more stable, which was surprising. There were no bruises on his body, indicating the accuracy of his blows. He remembered how he hadn't felt this light in a long time. The idea of blood therapy piqued his interest, although it was only a procedure to improve blood flow. The guy noticed that they had arrived early. The question about how they had spent the night sounded concerned. Her answer was calm, but he felt that something had changed. The boy slept like a baby and felt great. The idea of blood therapy surprised him, but he explained that he simply removed the clamps in her body. He supported him, reminding him that it was important for the body to rest in order to grow. His words sounded like parting words, full of care and understanding. The boy explained that he was using normal sword techniques. With that, they began training with determination and focus. For the first time in a long time, he felt energetic on the last day of the event. Perhaps it was due to the upcoming battle where the heir of Gyeongsang and Palm One Gongon were to meet. If Gene Ho himself believed in him, then everything should work out. This confidence was transmitted to those around him, instilling hope. He suggested taking a walk around the area to unwind before the big event. Mr. Sok supported the idea. The boy was confident that he could defeat his opponent. This confidence was reinforced by training and the support of his mentor. The enemy had heard that the previous ruler had finished Jiho. This knowledge added weight to the upcoming event. He who laughs last, laughs best. Yin doubted his victory, but the difference in strength was obvious even to the uninitiated. The master himself taught him, which made his chances of winning more real. This knowledge gave him confidence. The guy had brainwashed her well, making her think about every step. His training methods were unusual but effective. Now, he was going to show her where her true place was. His confidence in his abilities was unshakable. He acted quickly, demonstrating that he could do more than just talk. Mr. Suk was right, and that was obvious. The boy recalls the training. None of her attacks hit their target. He asks if he is fighting at full strength or if he has the gift of foresight. He explained that one must direct one's gaze to the right time and place. His mistake was that he looked not at him, but at the tip of his sword. To follow the point of the sword is to see the direction of attack. But it was necessary to act before the sword began to move. Returning to the fight, Pyaguk speaks up, warning that he will have to dodge his attacks for a long time to come. Through training with Mr. Suk, the boy learned to read his opponent's attacks. His legs showed his center of gravity, and his body position showed the direction of the blow. Before the attack, he tensed his shoulders, preparing for a decisive blow. Every move he made was thoughtful and precise. The boy sees these movements and, finally, waiting for the right moment, hits him, hitting the entire front part of his body with his katana. Ju Yun had indeed become stronger, but it was too early to rejoice. The opponent had not yet shown his maximum, and this caused tension. He just chuckled, realizing that the situation was not going as expected. His reaction was calm, but with a hint of irritation. Pyaguk says he would not allow anyone to humiliate him. His determination to defend his honor was unwavering. He was watching to see how long he could maintain his advantage. The question of whether he had enough strength hung in the air. The enemy strikes forward with greater force, and little Ju Yun barely dodges these deadly attacks. They fight blow after blow, alternating between the attacker and the defender in their battle. Now they're locked in a combat clinch with their swords and looking at each other. The next moment, they push each other away from each other. He held up well, but his opponent was not as simple as he seemed. The thought of how to handle the situation was worrying. The best option is to run away, but he is unlikely to take advantage of this. His pride and determination would not allow him to retreat. He chuckled, realizing that hoping for a miracle was pointless. The only way out was to act, despite the difficulties. You can't give up. His determination continued to burn even when the situation seemed hopeless. This did not stop him. His tenacity and will to win were stronger than any obstacles. This was the only way to win. His strategy was risky, but there was no other way. He doubted whether he had really lost. The thought of defeat was bitter, but giving up was not in his nature. Now, everyone would look down on him. However, he couldn't afford to give up because that would mean the end of everything he had fought for. Who said the battle was over? His voice was defiant, as if he was ready to continue no matter what. A gentleman burst onto the field to stop Pyaguk's dishonest actions. He jumped on him from above and crushed him with his feet. Attacking from behind is too mean, don't you think? His words sounded with a slight irony, but there was a sense of disappointment in them. It was just like his father. The question of what would happen to bomb one gun now remained unanswered, but the situation was clearly getting heated. Anyway, he had a plan. He offered to bring a generator to him to solve the problem. He was outraged to learn that his family had been humiliated. His voice shook with anger, but his eyes showed determination. The victory was made possible by a joint effort. Those around him expressed gratitude, but he only nodded modestly, trying not to attract unnecessary attention. Their praise was embarrassing. He did not understand why he was being praised so much, since he considered his actions to be a simple duty. The question of how to thank him remained unanswered. He declined the thanks, saying that it was enough for him to see the result. As soon as the situation in Baguk stabilized, he promised to return. Suk Gene Ho was used to living surrounded by luxury and influential people. Time flew by, and he even managed to celebrate his first birthday in this world in a big way. He was asked if he had changed his mind. There was a long pause, as if he was weighing the pros and cons, but in the end his determination outweighed his doubts. Even in important moments, he avoided calling him father. There was an invisible wall between them that had not yet been broken down. He was heading to Huanghui province, which was not as far away as it seemed. The place was connected to his roots, which gave the trip a special meaning. Long journeys were impossible now. Instead, he gave a gift, a symbol of recognition and hope for future meetings. A man goes to a palace to undergo combat training. He wants to become stronger and more skilled so that no one can defeat him again. The young mentor insistently offers training in an unusual place. According to him, this is the only way to reach the level of the great masters of the past. The gentleman in black chuckles, demanding that the task be completed first. His tone is reminiscent of a teacher tired of capricious students. The mysterious man sets conditions for help. In exchange, he wants the recipient to deliver a parcel from a certain majesty. The experienced rider had wisely left the carriage at the gate. In case the noble guests wanted to escape from the lectures, his sly look seemed to say. The landscape exceeded all the girls' expectations. Even a herd of cows on the horizon looked like a picturesque addition to the landscape. The interlocutor nods approvingly, adjusting the collar of the packed donkey. The cattle multiplies, the worries increase, was read in her ironic smile. The guy shyly waves the gift away as if it were a hot coal. His heartbeat quickens. Accepting a gift from this person is too risky. The sooner we finish, the sooner we can have some tea, the man cheerfully concludes, quickening his pace. His companion can barely keep up with the wide strides of the mentor. The market was a real test of patience. The shopping list grew to the size of a scroll, and time flowed slower than the juice from an overripe fruit. Having your goods delivered directly to your door is a blessing. Otherwise, you would have to carry everything on your back like a pack mule that has lost its cart. The aroma coming from the other side of the street promised incredible tastes. Even the most skeptical traveler would not be able to resist such a temptation. The establishment looked modest, but the smell promised a real feast. It seems that even the most inconspicuous stall can hide culinary treasures. Fate has once again led the heroes into trouble. Apparently, even a walk for provisions is not without unexpected turns. The children, surrounded by strange people, were alarming. The situation resembled a scene from an old fairy tale where villains kidnap innocents. The shopping plans collapsed like a house of cards. Instead of shopping arcades, we had to deal with local mysteries. How much time had passed since then? The question hung in the air like a leaf caught between the branches. Now the meetings will become as frequent as the seasons. The locals have already started to get used to the new faces, although not everything is so simple. The swordsmanship impresses even the most skeptical spectators. It seems that the training was not in vain, although perfection is still far away. Why deprive the owners of their earnings? Sometimes it is better to leave the coins in other people's pockets so as not to upset the balance of the universe. Noodles and a cat are a strange combination, but who would refuse a treat? Especially if in exchange they ask to bring meat for the furry gourmet. Doubts about the wisdom of actions are in the air. Sometimes it is better to think twice before rushing into battle with bare hands. Drawing your sword isn't always the best option. Plans tend to go wrong, especially when your opponent doesn't follow the script. Thinking about the consequences is a sign of wisdom. Not everyone is able to stop before a fight to assess the possible damage. Mistakes have a way of returning like a boomerang. Every oversight has to be paid for sooner or later. Giving your name means giving your opponent time to prepare. Now you have to wait for him to gather information. For servings of noodles and meat for the cat, the order is complete. It seems that even furry guests deserve their treat. Young chefs amaze with their skills. Apparently, talent for cooking does not depend on age, as does the appetite for experiments. Granny works behind the scenes until her illness takes her out of action. Her temporary replacement is doing just as well, although the secret recipe may have suffered a little. Once Grandma gets better, it's worth coming back for more noodles. The question of the strange visitors remains open, as do their deaths. Grandma's illness has disrupted all plans. Work has been suspended, the required amount has not been collected, and there is a slight panic in the air. The kids are left unattended, Grandma is sick, and the place is barely staying afloat. The only consolation is the noodles, which are still delicious. The bandits clearly won't stop until they get what they want. It looks like even a noodle shop could become a battleground for debts and territory. It's over. The the training is over. It seems that even the most resilient sometimes give in under the weight of circumstances. Sand and water are not the best allies for training. Balance is lost faster than confidence in one's own strength. The first time wasn't that bad, although maybe that was just luck rather than real progress. That's enough for today. All that's left is to check the networks. Maybe some unexpected luck got stuck there. Doubts about the sufficiency of assignments hang in the air. Sometimes even simple tasks can hide deep meaning. Work is not only for training. Even the most modest work can bring more benefits than it seems at first glance. Dinner promises to be calm. Life is gradually getting better, although complete peace is still far away. Caring for others has become a new priority. Money is important, of course, but it is no substitute for human warmth. Now is not the time for fighting. For now, we have to rely on the help of friends until our own strength is restored. A temporary source of income is just a step towards bigger goals. Sometimes you need to stop in order to move faster later. The place is full of food and spiritual items that can bring a good income. It looks like you can eat and earn money here. Only a select few can reach these treasures. The young lady, it seems, is not yet ready for such trials. Spirits and other ancient creatures await. The task is not easy, but the game is worth a candle. Finally, the goal has been found. Now all that remains is to get to it, bypassing all obstacles. This find is clearly different from the previous ones. Its name is so complex that even pronouncing it is a feat. There is nowhere to run. All that remains is to fight. The situation resembles a trap from which there is no escape. Ahan seems to be thinking about something important. His silence says more than words. This should be enough for the transformation. All that remains is to wait for the process to complete. Giving up is not an option. It seems that fate has prepared a different scenario than expected. 600 years of energy accumulation is certainly not eternity, but it is better than nothing. The treasure has finally been found. Hope is the last thing to fade. Sometimes it is the key to success. It feels like someone bought a boat, but forgot about the oars. The waves are crashing against the side, and victory seems so far away. The energy gathers in the center, dissolving into 8 flickers. The process resembles a magical ritual where every step is important. The blood begins to boil in the veins like a boiling cauldron. It seems that the body is preparing for something grandiose. Yang energy is calming down, but not for long. It will continue to rush out until it opens the last gate. Having reached the goal, the athlete enjoys the moment. It seems that the efforts were worth it, although the path was not easy. Filling the body with power took 2 whole hours. The process resembles charging a battery that is about to reach its maximum. The time spent on training pays off handsomely. The results are visible not only in the muscles, but also in the confidence. The work is not yet finished, but the results are already impressive. It seems that even small efforts can lead to big changes. The gentleman was late today. Perhaps he was delayed by important matters, or simply wanted to sleep longer. At night, it becomes dangerous here, like a forest full of predators. It is better not to linger, so as not to become someone's dinner. The dinner promises to be delicious. Cooking is an art that requires patience and skill. Here, this is for you. If it doesn't open, maybe you should add a little force. Sometimes even locks give in to persistence. How to put in more effort. It seems there is some secret hidden here that is yet to be solved. The job is done perfectly. The gentleman, having received the message, promises to arrive soon. It seems that everything is going according to plan. The strange devices are puzzling. Such dimensions are not typical of ordinary mechanisms, which makes one think. It feels like the device is giving you strength. It feels warm inside, like energy is filling every cell. An explanation will have to wait. The devices increase potential, but their age, about 500 years, raises questions. Don't touch the other devices for now. They may still come in handy as a spare key to an unknown door. Selling them personally is not a good idea. It is better to entrust it to someone else, so as not to waste time on trifles. Waking up early is not the most pleasant thing to do. However, sometimes morning vigor can be a pleasant surprise. Good morning starts with a cheerful mood. For the first time in a long time, waking up brings joy, not fatigue. There's a reception planned for today. It looks like the day promises to be eventful and interesting. At the destination, everything is ready for the meeting. All that remains is to wait for the guest to arrive. How are you? The question sounds like the answer is already known, but still requires polite clarification. The long journey is exhausting, but meeting friends is worth all the effort. It looks like the guests are ready for a pleasant time. Formalities are put aside. Now you can communicate without unnecessary ceremony, which makes the meeting more sincere. Age is no obstacle to friendship. The reason for the meeting remains open, but this only adds to the intrigue. The letter from the brother came as a surprise. The sister is surprised, but in her eyes there's a slight hope that this is not just a formality. The purpose of the meeting is to conclude a deal. It seems that even family ties sometimes give way to business interests. The letter from the brother was a surprise. The sister, it seems, did not expect such a turn of events. The purpose of the meeting is to conclude a deal. It seems that even family ties sometimes give way to business interests. The place is curious. Perhaps it would be worth taking a short tour before starting the negotiations. You have to see it with your own eyes. The question of what exactly is hidden behind it remains open. Is this really what my sister thinks? It looks like her guess was right. A 100-year-old oyster is a rare and valuable specimen. Finding one is like winning the lottery. Decades of searching yielded no results. The oyster remained as elusive as a mythical creature. It is believed that finding an oyster brings lifelong luck. It seems that the brothers spent a lot of effort looking for it. Now the main task is to sell the oyster. Half of the proceeds will go to the sister, which makes the offer even more tempting. The location of the oyster remains a mystery. The brother clearly isn't going to reveal all his secrets. The offer to make another deal sounds tempting. A decent payment promises to be substantial. The forecasts sound encouraging, but it is unlikely that the request will be fulfilled in full. The problem can be solved by finding a reliable seller. It seems that this will be the key to success. The details of the deal require careful discussion. The hope for the partner's honesty is the main trump card in negotiations. The urgency of selling an expensive product becomes a priority. The sooner, the better. Money is not the only thing that worries. The speed and efficiency of the transaction play no less important role. The deal has been completed successfully. Now all that remains is to think through the next steps so as not to miss out on the benefit. Red oysters promise many benefits. A dinner prepared with them will be a real event. Eating out is a great idea. Time to visit those kids and enjoy some good company. A hard day has come to an end. It's time to relax and enjoy a moment of peace. Have they closed already? It seems even the most reliable places let you down sometimes. Something went wrong. The hope that grandma is okay remains the main thought for now. The request for forgiveness sounds sincere. It turns out that the reason for the delay lies in the police stations. Grandma had been ill for a long time and lost consciousness yesterday. Local residents helped organize the ceremony, which was a small consolation. The place is located nearby, at the foot of the mountain. It seems that even in sad moments, nature remains beautiful. The door seems to have been left open. Returning home to check becomes necessary. Yun, as the eldest, takes responsibility. His calmness inspires confidence. It's good that Yun doesn't slow down. His determination helps him cope with difficulties. I don't want to put them in danger, especially the nanny. The store and debts become an additional burden. Sometimes it seems easier to just give up, but such thoughts quickly give way to determination. Earning that much money in one day is no easy task. The question of how to cope remains open. There is no humanity in them. They know perfectly well that the family lost their grandmother, but this does not stop them. Money is important, but not so much that you forget about care. Every kitten deserves attention, even if it requires effort. The situation is becoming increasingly complicated. It seems that even the simplest solutions can turn out to be complex. The gentleman from the martial arts palace appears unexpectedly. His presence evokes a mixture of respect and anxiety. The question about how you feel sounds sincere. After a short pause, The conversation moves on to more important topics. Listen carefully and be prepared to act. Sometimes it's moments like these that make the difference. The challenge has been thrown down. Is there anyone brave enough to take on the challenge? The atmosphere is heating up. Cowards who only know how to talk. Their behavior causes bewilderment, not respect. He is indeed strong, but that is no reason to turn a blind eye to his methods. It is better to listen to advice before passing it on to others. They are like cockroaches. The more you destroy them, the more new ones appear. It seems that soft methods do not work. In this case, you have to take tough measures. To prevent new cockroaches from appearing, it is better to deal with them on the spot. The first rule is to keep your friends informed. Information can be the key to solving many problems. If they don't want to get swatted, they should stay out of your way. Sometimes the best defense is just to stay out of sight. Patience is not just a virtue, it is a necessity. Without it, even the simplest tasks become impossible. Enough! The endless complaints and grievances are starting to get tiresome. They are running away from our hero. Watching your step is a good habit to get into, especially when there are so many unexpected things going on around you. A little patience, and everything will work out. The main thing is not to give up, even if it seems that there is no strength left. Everything is ready. We can begin. Gratitude for help sounds sincere, although the help was provided without unnecessary words. Thank you so much for your support. Sometimes even a little help can change everything. The promise of a rest turned into cooking dinner. However, for some, cooking is not a problem, but a pleasure. CO's soul offers to do the salt, but she manages the task herself. Her concern for others is evident even in small things. The question of a noodle shop remains open. Its continuation is necessary because you need to live on something. The offer to work together sounds tempting. So Soul will help the Annie, and the guy will look after the noodle shop. The idea of staying here is exciting. An assistant is just what is needed, and cooking for 2 more portions is no problem. The guy is clearly not a weakling. His help will be useful, especially in managing the noodle shop alone. They will stay here until they are ready to live independently. The issue of payment becomes secondary. The answer is not required immediately. Time for reflection is given to think things over without rushing. Protecting soul requires strength and rest. Staying here is a chance to learn something new and ensure safety. The decision to stay has been made. The request to take care of them sounds sincere, even without the promise of payment. The desire to become stronger requires investment. The question of how to pay for help remains open, but Auntie is not against it. A joke about salary defuses the situation. Annie will pay for help, because the main work will fall on her shoulders. Dinner continues, and Auntie's efforts are not in vain. Her culinary skills deserve praise. The House of Pleasures raises questions. Is everything all right, or is there something suspicious hidden behind the silence? Where did the baby go? The head of the House of Pleasures is behaving strangely, and this is causing concern. He took all the savings and disappeared. His courage borders on recklessness, but that doesn't make the situation any less dangerous. The transition to the main topic is inevitable. The reason for the gathering is known, and the elder does not intend to remain silent. Caution is necessary. His suspicious behavior is alarming, but it is too early to draw conclusions. Waiting isn't the best option, but there are no other options. His connection to the Suk clan makes the situation even more complicated. Attacking him would cause a backlash from the Suk clan. The head of the House of Pleasures seemed unaccustomed to such risks. The one who holds the sword will be found guilty, not the one who gave the order. These are the rules of the game, and they cannot be changed. The hatred towards him is obvious, but one must act with caution. Emotions can lead to irreversible consequences. In that case, we'll have to send someone special. That's the only way to accomplish the task. Now we can move on to discussing the contract. All details should be thought out to the smallest detail. The dream is over, and it's time to take action. Perhaps this will help find a solution to the problem. The brush in the hands requires precision. Control over force is the key to success in this delicate work. The tone of emphasis varies depending on the person's temperament. It seems that even without explanation, everything becomes clear. Humor helps to defuse the situation. Even without unnecessary words, it becomes clear that the situation is not so simple. The wait for their arrival has been long, but today's visit was a surprise. The hunt for him continues. He heads towards a room with a sign. Blackmail may be the goal, but the request not to disturb him still stands. They don't seem to understand what's going on. We'll have to do something different to get results. The situation is becoming increasingly complicated. It seems that we will have to look for new approaches to solving the problem. Where are they heading? The question remains open, but one thing is clear. The situation calls for caution. There's no point in waking them up. They're already on edge, and any wrong move could lead to conflict. How do you know? It's time to leave before things get out of hand. Danger is near. Chernish is tasked with keeping an eye on them. His skills make him ideal for the task. The master leaves it to Chernish. For now, he needs to focus on other matters, but control is maintained. The guy will attack another ninja from behind, quietly and quickly. Our main character has become a real professional night killer. He was on the roof just a second ago. His abilities clearly exceed expectations, which makes him even more dangerous. Agreeing to go up against such a monster is a clear sign of desperation. The situation seems hopeless, but it is too early to give up. No, they won't let him die. The determination to save him outweighs the fear of danger. This guy is a mystery. Who is he, and what is the force that drives him? The questions remain unanswered. His friend gave up, but that doesn't mean the fight is over. Sometimes one's defeat is the beginning of another's victory. Persistence and high morale are his main assets. He will squeeze information until he gets answers. His choice doesn't matter. Either way, the truth will come out, and it will change everything. The Blood Giant and his friends are behind this. Their orders have led to the current situation, and this cannot be ignored. Fighting is strictly forbidden. If something goes wrong, running away will be the only way out. If they sense something was wrong, even in their sleep, their abilities have clearly improved. This makes them even more dangerous. Today you will have to put the acquired knowledge into practice. At night, the risk of injuring or even killing someone increases. It's better to leave self-doubt for later. If they are ready to move on, they will have to risk their lives. The decision is theirs. Retreating is not in his plans. His determination to continue the fight remains unshakable, despite all the difficulties. A bad feeling is nagging at me. Perhaps I should stop and think, but there's no time to think. It seems that it was just the wind. However, the feeling of anxiety does not go away, which makes one think, no, it wasn't him. Then what was it? The question remains unanswered, but one thing is clear. Danger is near. They tried to kill him, but bad news awaits them. His reaction promises to be decisive and ruthless. Solak appeared unexpectedly. His presence causes panic, and everyone rushes to the scene. This blow is aimed straight at the heart. It seems that the conflict has reached the point of no return, and compromise is impossible. The order to kill him is loud and clear. However, he has long realized that he has become their target and is ready to fight. Negotiations are useless. There is only one thing left: to use force to resolve the conflict. Plan B was to attack with the entire group if the mercenaries failed. However, it was clearly underestimated. The underestimation of his abilities becomes obvious. The idea of escape is not even considered. A fight is inevitable. He was trapped, but he had been attacked too often for it to come as a surprise. The question of whether everything can be solved with money sounds rhetorical. However, in this world, money solves many things. The killers burst into his home, and he is offered money. The warning not to go too far was ignored. His opinion won't change overnight. The monastery remains a place where everything is decided by its own rules. He is confident that they will help. Cleaning everything clean will be the first step to restoring order. The soldiers did their job. Their efforts were not in vain, although the result could have been better. No matter how strong he is still a youth. His strength does not cancel out his inexperience and mistakes. His speed is impressive. No one expected him to be able to move so fast which baffles everyone. Among the three, he is the most unpleasant. His behavior and manner of communication irritate those around him. Confidence in his own strength makes him unshakable. However, even such confidence can be shaken. Chernish is an unusual cat who lives on Mount Daesan. Together with his owner, they have experienced many adventures, and now he has become part of the Suk squad. Only the company of the owner dispelled the boredom. However, in the new places where they moved, there are no adventures. The king of all beasts lives in these lands. Chernish watched him, but remained aside for now. The owner decided to protect people, and now Chernish has to take care of the animals of these lands. It's time to overthrow the king. The wolf is a surprise. His appearance adds tension to an already difficult situation. A big tiger is trying to kill some little puppies. Our cat is watching this and wondering what to do. The situation is heating up, and every step requires caution. A mistake can lead to irreparable consequences. Questions remain unanswered, but one thing is clear: we must act quickly. Delay could be too costly. The situation requires attention. Every step must be thought out to avoid unexpected consequences. The little wolf cubs are now under protection. Their upbringing will become an important task for the whole team. Someone asks the gentleman to look at this. The discovery requires immediate attention and further study. Chernish seems to have found some friends. These creatures could become valuable allies in the future. Wolf cubs are adorable, but raising them will take time and effort. It's good that there are people around who are willing to do it. They may be spiritual beings, too. The main thing is to raise them correctly so that they can be useful. Wolves can be great livestock protectors. Welcome to the family, where they will be called Zhongrang, Huangrang, and Caorang. The gentleman received a letter from Supung Pyaguk. Its contents are interesting, but require careful study. The apology for the disturbance sounds sincere. The possibility of meeting later suits all parties. Yun and Marin look at him with distrust. There's a tenacity inside him that pushes him to learn martial arts. The letter from Jan Ho contains good wishes and a promise to visit. A personal meeting is certainly better than correspondence. The transfer of information occurs quickly. It is necessary to prepare for the upcoming events so that everything goes smoothly. The morning call raises questions. The cancellation of Yun and Ma Ren's training hints at something serious, possibly bandits. The task was to visit all the stalls at the fair. The expectation of seeing different dishes that can be prepared at home was not met. The gathering is organized to demonstrate something important. What exactly remains a mystery for now, but the intrigue is growing. The old noodle shop evokes mixed feelings. Despite its simplicity, its noodles were incredibly tasty, which surprised many. The performance of Kek Kan is surprising. The name sounds unusual, but it has a special meaning. Kek Zan is named after the future owner. Such a surprise is shocking, but you will have to get used to it. Naming the establishment after yourself seems wrong. However, the design is already complete, and it is too late to back out. The gift of a prepared place is puzzling. Its generosity is difficult to accept, but impossible to refuse. The spacious premises are divided into zones for visitors and housing, and the question of how to cope with the influx of customers remains open. Don't underestimate yourself. The master's faith in the ant gives her confidence in her abilities. The official opening of the establishment becomes an event. Word spreads quickly, and the search for new employees begins. After all the events, the long-awaited visitor appears. His visit becomes a pleasant surprise for everyone. The joy of the meeting is mixed with admiration for his exploits. He dealt with local bandits and opened a luxurious establishment. There is no need to exaggerate. He was not a star, but his achievements are impressive. Good, very good. Ken Aju and Doak is the strongest of the assistants. His appearance with him was a surprise to everyone. The transition to business happens quickly. The confidence that he has something to say is reinforced by his connection to the Sok clan. He knows what's going on now. Trust in others is at zero, and this makes the situation even more tense. It's time to test what his subjects are capable of. Their actions may be the key to solving many problems. Before appointing a subordinate as a teacher, it is worth checking his abilities. The question of his readiness remains open. The border zone becomes a testing ground where the skills and determination of a teacher candidate can be assessed. Despite the doubts, Yun and Ma Rion's abilities are beyond question. Their potential is obvious. Accepting a former subordinate as a teacher is a difficult step. Ma Rion will have to prove his worth. Show them what you can do. Showing off your skills will be the key to recognition and respect. If you're not interested, you can leave. However, the desire to stay and watch speaks of his curiosity. The hope to learn a lot from them is mutual. The first steps on the path to mastery are always exciting. The excitement before a test is natural. It emphasizes the importance of the moment and the seriousness of the task. The inability to allow yourself to relax becomes a problem. Sometimes even the strong need a break. His technique is astonishing. The rumors that he disgraced a warrior in Shizuya can turn out to be true. He has really become stronger. His progress is impressive, and it pleasantly surprises those around him. Now he is ready for new challenges. His determination and skills make him a serious opponent. He continues to fight despite the pain. The use of external energy raises questions, but the result is obvious. He does not give up even when the situation seems hopeless. His persistence becomes an example for others. The concept of external energy is questionable. His ability to use it seems almost incredible. He himself does not understand how he did it. His actions seem spontaneous, but effective. The atmosphere is getting tense. It might be time to stop to avoid further conflict. There is no need to announce the winner. It is better to see a doctor to quickly regain strength after the fight. During this time, he learned a lot. The use of breathing techniques was an unexpected discovery for him. Hope for the teacher remains high. His students want to learn the same to become stronger. His popularity is growing. People are starting to notice his achievements and are increasingly turning to him for help. The items are as expected. All that remains is to decide on the prices to close the deal. Courses are offered for 31, 60, and 90 days. When purchasing a 6-month course, you get an additional 20 days as a gift. The longer the contract, the cheaper it is. Meals and accommodation are included in the price, which makes the offer profitable. The minimum contract term is 6 months. Despite the desire to sign it, some details are worrying. The state tax complicates the process. Second and third level applicants are more likely to agree to long-term contracts. Gratitude for help sounds sincere. However, compensation for those who run away is not provided. The gentleman is clearly not in a good mood. Perhaps we should discuss the current problems to find solution. Where are the others? A private conversation becomes necessary to discuss important details without prying eyes. Isn't it too early for a grueling workout? The question of the load remains open, but the determination does not weaken. Caring for him does not go unnoticed. Showing something new becomes a pleasant surprise for both. His abilities command respect. What he has shown requires memorization for future use. The new technology becomes a topic of discussion. Its efficiency and uniqueness impress those around it. The new technology is admired. Its uniqueness and effectiveness become a subject of discussion among the students. The technique is called Chkurgashik and is considered to be of the highest level. Mastering it requires time and effort, but the result is worth it. High-end technology requires not only mastering it, but also a deep understanding of the basics. Without this, progress is impossible. The moves shown earlier do not resemble the moves from the thunder-chasing styles. Their uniqueness raises questions. Performing the technique in a normal rhythm becomes a challenge. However, this is how mastery can be achieved. The ability to strike lightning endlessly seems impossible. However, it is becoming a reality with new technology. He tries his best until he becomes a master of a hieroglyph. The basics are important and cannot be skipped. You feel tired after training, but that's no reason to stop. Tomorrow you'll have to work on yourself again. The training result was as expected. The instructor praises the students for their efforts, ending the lesson on a positive note. A boy received a letter from Kultha Academy. The house is empty and his thoughts are preoccupied with training, but the message demands attention. The young man envies his brother Ma Riyang's success. Failures irritate him, but make him wonder why everything works out for him. The mentor looks at the student with slight irony. It seems that he has not yet understood that mastery is not magic but sweat and calluses. The young man's body is still weaker than his ambitions. Thoughts of training to exhaustion are mixed with reproach, and a hospital bed is not far away. Ma Riyang's brother advises to start from the basics, but the stubborn guy is already storming complex techniques, ignoring the basic movements. The letter from the academy came at the perfect time. The young man decides to discuss it with his mentor before his luck runs out. The boy doubts his mentor's offer. His face remains respectful, but inside he is mocking. With him? Seriously. The mentor shrugs, seeing the doubts of the student. If he does not want to learn, then let him blame himself when he loses in the first fight. The guy vows to protect So-Sol until she find a husband. Motives? Perhaps fear of loneliness, or an extra excuse not to wash the dishes. The mentor notes the maturity of the young man's thoughts, but doubts his readiness. Time is a resource that is always in short supply. Now the brothers Ma Riyang and Li Jun will be looked after. They will have almost no free time for household chores. The boy vows to try hard for So-Sol. The mentor suggests starting with security, but the boy is already ready for something more. From tomorrow, training with the fighters from Poruk will be part of the routine. However, household chores have not been canceled. The young man refuses the easy way out. He is ready to work hard to prove his worth. The mentor nods approvingly. The night passes peacefully. The guy remembers about the letter he needs to deliver. Time flies, and there is more and more to do. The sister seems to have let it slip about the ancient red letters. Now everyone knows that the young man is connected to something important. Late evening finds a guy sorting through old notes. Each line is a clue, but there is not enough time for everything. There are clients, but their number leaves much to be desired. The mentor agrees, more effort, more visitors. The idea of a lack of unique dishes seems obvious. Popular restaurants have them, but here there is only a standard menu. Plain food doesn't attract crowds. Without a twist on the menu, customers go elsewhere. Time for a change. The mentor offers a solution to the problem. The young man takes the initiative into his own hands, promising to make the restaurant attractive. Sister So-Sol arrives with an unexpected guest. The commotion surrounding the visit raises questions about why all the fuss. The man accompanying So-Sol is emitting a strange energy. A martial artist? His aura is clearly unusual. The young man wonders about the motives for the visit. His sister rarely appears without a reason, and now there is a mysterious companion. Brother and sister haven't seen each other for a long time. The conversation begins with the question why she came, perhaps a warning. So-Sol's companion looks dangerous. His connections to the Tan family and the Sangha service suggest ulterior motives. The young man doubts the necessity of communicating with the guest. Everyone has their own reasons, but is it worth getting involved in other people's affairs? Tan Myung explains the reason for his visit. He wants to talk, but his connection to the Tan family is a cause for concern. The mentor agrees to listen to the guest. Politeness is good, but it is too early to trust a person from the Seishan Tan family. Tan Myung introduces himself formally. His name and background sound like a warning that this man is not simple. The guest identifies himself as the representative of the Seishan Tang family. So-Sol confirms his words, but her gaze is full of doubt. The conversation turns to ancient dragons and their influence. The guest knows a lot, but his understanding seems superficial. The guest's hands look too well-groomed. Not a single callus. Strange for a man who has been through trials. The guest's clothes raise more questions than his words. Even the mentor's nephew looks bolder than this guy. The mentor asks a direct question. How does the guest know about the ancient red letters? And why does he need them? The young man is surprised how the guest knows about ancient writings. Why was it necessary to bring this man here at all? The information about the writings would not have reached Sanghong if it had not been for the leak. The mentor suspects that someone let it slip. The guest asks for clarification. He did not come for the red letters, but his true purpose remains a mystery. It turns out that the guest's goal is a 1,000-year-old shell. Why does he need it? There are more questions than answers. A 1,000-year-old pearl mollusk is a rare find. The guest admires the mentor's abilities, but immortality is not in his plans. The young man listens attentively, but his thoughts are occupied with something else. It seems that the guest knows more than he says. The guest asks the main question, will the mentor be able to find a 1,000-year-old mollusk? There is no answer yet, but the intrigue is growing. Such rarities are found once in a lifetime. The guest promises to help if he manages to find the mollusk. Our protagonist repeats that he cannot guarantee the success of the operation. The interlocutor understands this and says that he will not forget his help anyway. The search continues every day, but so far without result. Time is running out, and luck is still not smiling. The deadline is pressing. The guest reminds that there is little time left, and this adds to the tension. The results exceed expectations. It seems that luck has finally turned its face to the seekers. The guest asks to wait a little longer. The mentor assures that there is hope, but patience is the key to success. It seems that luck is starting to turn in their favor. The young man notices the first signs of success. The mentor proudly shows the result. He was right. The hope was justified, and the goal is close. The mollusk turns out to be capricious and strong. The young man holds it with his inner strength, which surprises the guest. The guy jokes that next time he should come with gifts. The mentor laughs, but understands that the joke is not far from the truth. The mollusk turns out to be so capricious that even an experienced young man has difficulty coping with it. The slightest mistake in using inner strength can lead to disaster. The guest admires the young man's skills. It's time to hit the road. The cart is ready, and the mentor promises to thank the guest later. The young man had hoped to rest, but business required continuation. The time to relax had not yet come. Mollusks do not give rest. Their number increases, and it is starting to irritate. I wonder what these mollusks taste like. The question remains unanswered, but curiosity does not fade. Sales at the tavern have increased dramatically. It seems that recent events have attracted new customers. The strangers made a mess, but the young man quickly dealt with them. Now the tavern is in order again. The number of visitors has doubled, and the tavern is already running out of space. Perhaps it's time to expand. Expanding the tavern seems like a logical step. However, increasing the number of rooms is not as easy as one would like. Buying a new tavern becomes a solution to the problem. A second branch will help cope with the influx of guests. The idea of a branch office is laughable. It seems like a good joke, but there is some truth to it. The nanny reports to the young gentleman that everything is ready. All that remains is to begin work on the new project. The huge shrimp is surprising. Its size and aroma make you think about new dishes. Everyone tries shrimp to appreciate its taste. Honest reviews will help you create the perfect dish. The shrimp turns out tender, juicy, and incredibly firm. This combination is rare. The divine taste of the shrimp astonishes everyone. Even the younger master did not expect such a result. Using shrimp for dumplings seems controversial. Guests may not appreciate its uniqueness. Fried and stewed shrimp become a hit. They decide to make them a signature dish, which is met with approval. The ingredients for the dish were found during a search for a 1,000-year-old mollusk. Their uniqueness makes the dish inimitable. The signature shrimp dish, cho de ha, is perfect for a tavern. Its complexity adds exclusivity. The younger gentleman suggests developing a secret dish. First, enjoy the taste, and then discuss the details. Sosol is surprised by the success of the shrimp. Their popularity has exceeded all expectations, and the guests are delighted. The signature dishes from Cho De Ha quickly gained popularity, and the tavern became a place to return to. The hot season is coming to an end. The morning and evening wind brings long-awaited coolness. The old tavern building looks shabby, but its atmosphere attracts guests. Perhaps it's time to think about renovation. New guests appear in the tavern. Their feedback will help improve the service and make the dishes even better. The old building looks worse than expected. The daughter gets a reminder to behave decently in such a place. The tavern is small and old, but its value is not in its size. It is the people who fill it that matter. Tang Gunson appears with an unexpected entourage. His visit raises questions, but he maintains a smile. After a short explanation, the guests are invited in. It seems that the situation is beginning to clear up. Tang Gunson apologizes for his unexpected appearance. He had planned to come alone, but circumstances changed. The rescue of the daughter became the reason for the visit. The head of the clan personally expresses gratitude, which causes surprise. Despite being late, Tang Gunson sincerely thanks his hosts. His gratitude sounds sincere. Tan Heron introduces herself as the daughter of the clan head. The acquaintance takes place in a friendly atmosphere. The girl offers to serve as a token of gratitude for saving her. Her devotion commands respect. The girl insists on gratitude for saving her. Her determination is surprising, but she cannot be stopped. The strange expressions on the guests' faces are now clear. Their visit is connected with unexpected circumstances. Miss Tang's stay at the tavern is limited to 5 years. It's a compromise that suits both parties. 5 years is not that long. The owners agree to help, but the girl does not rule out that she would like to stay longer. There is no plan to violate the laws of the clan. If in 5 years the girl wants to stay, she will not be forced to leave. Having a Tang girl will be beneficial. 5 years of service is acceptable, unlike life. The matter with Kareen is settled. All that remains is to sign the agreement and begin a new chapter in the life of the tavern. A duel with the master of the underworld becomes a lesson. It is not just a fight, but an opportunity to learn something new. Teaching through dueling is an unusual approach. The master of the underworld shows that even combat can be useful. The master offers to give in to the first 3 blows. His confidence makes one smile, but the opponent is in no hurry to agree. Additional concessions seem unnecessary. The mood for the fight is already serious, and it's time to get down to business. The duel begins. Both participants are ready to show what they are capable of, and the tension in the air increases. The first blow has been dealt. The master demonstrates his skills, but the enemy is in no hurry to give up. The master asks if this is all the opponent can show. Now the fight becomes really serious. The opponent's movements change. The master notices this and prepares for a new stage of the fight. The master notes changes in the opponent's fighting style. The duel becomes even more intense and interesting. The fight continues, and the master demonstrates incredible skills. His movements are precise, and his blows confuse the enemy. Spectators watch the fight closely. Every blow and movement makes one wonder about the skill of the participants. At this level, even 6 dragons would not be able to withstand it. The master's strikes are aimed at vital points, making them deadly. I wonder who the master's teacher was. His technique is so unique that it arouses admiration and questions at the same time. At that age, it is rare to have such skills. The master has clearly spent years honing his craft. Thunderbolt techniques are a rarity, and few can use them as effectively as a master. Everything will become clear soon. The fight is approaching its climax, and the audience is eagerly awaiting the finale. The master demonstrates perfect movements that amaze the audience. His technique seems almost unreal. Every action of the master is brought to perfection. His movements are precise, and his technique is flawless. There is nothing mystical about it. The master simply uses his skills to show what he is capable of. The opponent asks why the master stopped. He is sure that he has already proven his qualifications. The master does not hide that this was a test. His goal is to prove that he is trustworthy and can protect his daughter. I wonder who the master's teacher was. His technique is so unique that it raises questions and admiration. The place is really little known, and it would be impolite to ask about the master's teacher. Mr. Kanju confirms that everything is fine. The young gentleman asks to be called simply Kanju. His modesty inspires respect, but does not diminish interest in him. Heron cares for Kanju more than her father. Her divine insight helps her see everything around her. It should come as no surprise, as Heron is a Tang. Her abilities and concern for others are impressive. Does anyone have concerns? The question sounds like a joke, but there is genuine interest behind it. Everyone has worries, but sometimes they look strange. It seems like something is bothering the other person more than usual. No matter how much they talk about calming down, anxiety does not go away. Sometimes it takes time to figure yourself out. The facial expression says a lot. Even the head of the Seishin Tang clan can be unsure despite his outward confidence. The idea seems good. Heirs of respected families often enter into arranged marriages to avoid conflicts. The clan leader seems like an ideal candidate in terms of combat skills. However, the talk of marriage is irritating. Karine is the daughter of the head of the clan, and her future is important to everyone. Relationships between men and women are always unpredictable. Be sure to come to Seishin. Meeting the head of the clan will be an important step for all participants. Take care of yourself on the road. Farewell sounds warm, but behind it lies the expectation of new events. The decision to stay with her sister seems logical. Sometimes family ties are more important than any travel. The conversation with the father has already taken place. It is impossible to leave the sister alone, especially if she is not married. Chief Klon looks confused. Even he didn't know about this turn of events, which makes him feel a little awkward. Suk Gene Ho introduces himself and understands the reasons for the decision to stay. His calmness adds confidence to the conversation. Tang Aaron introduces himself, and the master leaves to train the students. His determination commands respect. The walk ends, but the impressions remain. I don't like this guy, especially because I don't know his name. Why do they just call him this guy? Addressing the clan leader requires more respect. The rescue of an ancient artifact speaks volumes. Its capabilities are truly impressive, and it is hard to deny. Perhaps his brother lost to him because of his amazing abilities. That's why he's so annoying. With such abilities, he could have become famous. But instead, he lives in the wilderness, which raises questions. His facial features give away his origins. He is clearly not an ordinary person, and this adds to his mystery. Why did the cat come here if the clan leader is not there? His visit seems strange, but perhaps there's a meaning to it. Now they will live together. His sweetness and charm make her smile, and her interest in him grows. Why doesn't he notice her? The question remains unanswered, but that doesn't stop her from hoping for the best. Perhaps the bad reviews about the boss were the reason. To be friends with Chernish, you need to please his boss. After the walk, they will visit the farm. 3 fluffy wolf cubs are waiting there, but her heart has already been given to Chernish. Time flies faster than it seems. The hope for success grows, especially if someone has already achieved results. Even half a year of training in a large school does not always bring noticeable progress. But Jinho is confident of success. These guys look completely different. Their changes are so noticeable that it is hard to believe it is real. Their appearance is surprising. They have become stronger, and this makes you wonder about their training methods. Strengthening their basic skills and learning how to work their bodies correctly has paid off. Their strength is still there, but their potential is huge. The result will be noticeable. Coping with 5 opponents alone is not an easy task, but he is ready. A first-class security guard is confident in his abilities. His professionalism is beyond doubt, but a test still lies ahead. Confidence is good, but now we need to check the results of training. It's time to start the one-on-one fight. The newcomers he brought in also want to see results. Their motivation is growing, and it is inspiring. The noise around raises questions. What's going on? It turns out that the spectators also want to see the fight. The fight is interesting to watch, and the spectators don't mind. Their presence adds excitement and tension. The Sichuan girls attract attention. Their presence adds intrigue and importance to the event. First, you need to get down to business. The promise is fulfilled, and now you can move on to the next step. The gentleman takes a pose and announces the start of the fight for all the spectators who have gathered here for one purpose: entertainment. The mentor advises to evaluate strengths and weaknesses. Using them in battle could be the key to victory. Fighting a spear master face-to-face seems foolhardy. His weapon is heavier and his skills are superior. There's a way to gain an advantage. Closing the distance can be a decisive step in a fight. One way is to close the distance. This will give you an advantage, especially against heavier weapons. Closing the distance becomes a key strategy. The mentor is confident that this will help in the fight. Simple punches won't do. To deal with your opponents, you need to use your inner strength and finish the fight quickly. Before, the sight of a spear made him shudder. Now he understands how important it is to think ahead, as his mentor advised. The fight continues, and every step requires precision. The enemy is strong, but this is no reason to give up. It's time to end the fight. Fatigue is growing, but this is no reason to lose concentration. Quick attacks don't work. You need to find another way to end the fight, otherwise the victory will be incomplete. He is ready to continue the fight to the end, regardless of the outcome. However, the mentor believes that enough has already been shown. Even in a losing situation, he did not give up and continued to attack. The last blow was accurate, but just a little short. Isn't that enough to solidify their clan's reputation? His efforts deserve respect and recognition. The gratitude to the mentor sounds sincere. His advice helped in the battle, and now he is ready for new challenges. There is still a lot of work ahead, but the first step has been taken. Now we need to move on and not stop. The aroma of Prodigy root liqueur is astounding. Its depth is reminiscent of ginseng tincture, which is admirable. Prodigy liqueur is impossible to buy for money. It was found in the mountains and has now become a rare treat for friends. The eldest daughter was on the verge of death due to the lack of 1,000-year-old ginseng. Tang Gun Myung came to the rescue and saved her. The younger sister stayed with her. The 1,000-year-old ginseng saved her life, and now everyone knows who helped. Everyone has already understood the situation, so there is nothing to discuss. The questions disappear by themselves. The relationship between Miss Tang and the boy is not what it seems. The head of the Tang family is known as the King of Destiny. If the head of the family had not liked him, he would have found another way to thank him for saving him. Talking about marriage reminds me of the 3 children of the Pei family. They are currently in closed training, which is of interest. Discussing marriage is not the main purpose of the visit. The guest is more interested in the student's progress. A 1-year course of study could be an excellent basis for cooperation. It will be beneficial for both parties. Motivation and patience are the keys to success. Training your inner strength takes time, but the results are worth it. There is an opinion that fighters have 2 main obstacles, the wall of mastery and the wall of despair. Breaking the wall of mastery seems impossible, but if there is a way, it will change everything. The method is simple: hit until you break through. Unlike the wall of despair, this barrier can be overcome. Reducing the training period is possible. An intensive course will help you achieve results faster. The Gongdong clan came with a personal request. Dealing with an unknown enemy is no easy task. The first disciple of the Gongdong clan, Jin Guak, defeated the great warrior Ho Chai. His progress is impressive. Even with such achievements, it is none of his business. He prefers to remain in the shadows and not interfere. The father sends his regards, but the young man forgot about it due to his absent-mindedness. Now he needs to correct the mistake. Father wants to help the Gongdong clan build its reputation in the martial arts world. This is an important step for everyone, a place where he feels calm. Catching animals brings him joy and peace. Chernish trusts him and even cuddles up to him. Perhaps it's time to rest, but he continues to work. Joy from meeting friends. Even Chernish, usually reserved, shows interest. Chernish is not very friendly with people. Aaron is too intrusive, so he keeps away. She likes it here. Training with the boss is useful, and cooking with the master is fun. She learned a lot from her. The combination of herbs and cooking was fascinating. Something has happened to Chernish. The sister notices that he looks unusual. Perhaps he is ill. A student from Seishantan High School shows interest. His presence adds intrigue to the situation. The situation is getting tense. Everyone is waiting to see what will happen next. But for now, there are more questions than answers. He asks if she knows where she is. Her confidence surprises him, but doesn't bother him. His words sound like a challenge. If people like him rule, it is no wonder that others know no fear. The worthless are trying to stand in his way. Today will be Suk Gene Ho's last day. He's just a puppy in front of the master. The noise he made raises more questions than answers. Suk Gene Ho brought people from the main clan. His actions are met with discontent, but he is confident. His behavior seems rude. He does not greet his elders, which causes confusion and irritation. Insulting the clan is a serious offense. His words sound like a challenge, and it will not go unanswered. He wanted to piss her off by creating a pretext. His plan worked, but the consequences could be serious. He promises to teach her manners. His confidence borders on impudence, but this only adds to the intrigue. It's all over. His plan didn't work perfectly, but the result can still be considered a success. He couldn't humiliate her as he planned, but that's not so important. The main thing is that the matter is completed. His actions are puzzling. It seems he doesn't fully understand what's going on. His power is not hidden, and it becomes obvious. All his tricks and gimmicks are useless. He doesn't even understand what happened. His deception is exposed, and now he must act with caution. The guy has deceived him. Now she looks at him with suspicion, and this does not bode well. You need to move while he assesses the situation. You can't show confusion, otherwise everything is lost. His silence speaks volumes. He seems to realize that he has gone too far. So far he's successfully dodging, but fatigue is taking its toll. Soon he won't be able to continue. This moment will be his last. His opponent is confident of victory, but everything can change. The attack becomes clumsy. He rushes to end the fight, but this only makes his situation worse. His movements are strange. It seems he's trying to hide something, but it only attracts attention. He uses others to prevent dodging. It's a dirty trick, but might work. If he dodges, the blow will fall on others. This puts him in a difficult position, but he has no choice. The clan prepares to defend itself. The situation is heating up, and every step requires caution. The clan leader decides to stop the attack alone. His decision is respected, but also questions are raised. He tries to poison his opponent. His methods become more and more desperate and dangerous. The attempt to poison the enemy fails. Now, he himself finds himself in a dangerous situation. The energy flow in his body is disrupted. It must be excruciating, but he holds on. He also sprayed poison, so he won't mind if the consequences affect him too. Only a person of the highest level can destroy energy points. His opponent is clearly not one of them. They try to stop him, but he keeps moving forward. His determination is impressive. He can explain his actions. His intentions are pure, but his methods are questionable. Misunderstandings happen, but this is not a reason for conflict. He is ready to explain everything. The owner of a rural school cannot harm a student. His actions must be fair. People trust great schools like Gupa and Vodasek. Destroying a small school will not be difficult. The girls vouch for this honor of their Sakajang clan. The man is shocked. Where did this clan come from, and what is it doing here? Talk of betrayal is not worth worrying about. The honor of the Saktahan clan is unbreakable, as all students will attest. Where is the Sakajang clan? Their absence from the meeting raises questions, but not panic. The Sakajang clan members suddenly appear. Their visit seems unexpected, but there is a purpose behind it. The disciples who were recently poisoned are now here. Even the great Kong Dan did not expect that his followers would stoop to baseness. The sister advises not to anger the young man. The joke that he doesn't have enough strength for a knife adds some lightness to the tense situation. The leader orders the students to be locked inside. An examination of their condition will be the key to solving what is happening. How can an experienced warrior attack a newcomer? The irony is that this is a student of Kamai himself, a master with an impeccable reputation. A peaceful solution to the issue seems impossible. However, the clan leader remains calm, as if solving a puzzle. She has a different perspective on the situation. Perhaps she sees something that is hidden from others, or she just likes to complicate the simple. One of the great disciples appears. His presence causes mixed feelings, but the situation demands action. Madness. His actions are beyond reason, but this is only the beginning. There are many more surprises ahead. He really did kill him. First the black film, and now this. Things seem to be getting out of hand. He clearly doesn't think about the consequences. His actions are impulsive, but that doesn't justify their destructiveness. A man with a mark on his forehead orders his subordinates to kill everyone around him. and he himself goes on the run. We need to buy time. Finding a solution becomes the main task. Otherwise, the consequences will be catastrophic. Where is he heading? His plans remain a mystery, but one thing is clear. He will not stop without a fight. The energy dissipates, and this causes panic. His condition worsens, but he tries to save face. What is it? His reaction says a lot, but it is not yet clear what exactly he has in mind. Fools don't understand who they're dealing with. You have to be extremely careful around someone of their clan. The gratitude sounds sincere, but it is rejected. It is their duty, and they do it without further ado. Another thank you, but it seems unnecessary. Just silence and understanding that everything was done correctly. It would be nice if there was someone talkative here. The silence suggests thoughts, but there are no answers yet. He is ready to tell everything. The great warrior will receive all the information, including the connection with the head of the white horse. There is evidence. The letters that were exchanged will be the key to the solution. If the conditions are not met, everything will be revealed. Good information. Now he has a plan, and he is ready to act. All that remains is to get started. He offers to send the enemy with the most painful poison. However, since he has provided evidence, it is worth rewarding him. The young man looks determined, though without unnecessary words. It's good that he is not a coward, but that does not make him any less dangerous. The master probably already has a plan. Their clan is ready to help, despite the difficulties associated with Condon. As one of the 5 great houses, their clan cannot ignore lawlessness, especially since they are connected to Sokdent. The actions of the great clan and the white horse caused a wave of indignation. This incident became a turning point. Conspiracies and ill will that began with the Black Scourge have led to global upheaval. The great clan blames the master. The clan's fall was as sudden as its rise. No one expected such a turn of events. Few would believe the words of the great clan. The disciples founded the White Khan to finish the job and save face. No one knows what he is capable of, despite his righteousness. The old man is worried, but the young man has already thought everything through. The palace looks modest despite the growing number of visitors. An expansion could solve this problem. He uses his position skillfully. The students he trains are from Sokro Shinnok, which adds to his authority. The offer to unite their students sounds tempting. However, he modestly notes that there are those who are superior to him. He has no plans to return to Sokdent. If the offer is accepted, he is willing to train students for double pay. This is not a waste. The contract with Seok Tunpiak has already been concluded, and Seok Tunpiak and Sagajan are one family. He promises to think about it and give an answer. The hope for a positive outcome is reinforced by a return gift. The return gift is surprising. It seems he did not expect such generosity for his help. The gift is a token of gratitude for helping with the white horse. Suk Tunpiaguk will also receive a gift to strengthen the bond. A step towards rapprochement has been taken, although the gift seems too generous. The past cannot be changed, but the future can be improved. They gradually become closer. The son, as he is called, becomes part of their plans. The little animal is thinking about jumping into deep water. Managing 3 wolves is no easy task, even for him. If you raise wolves well, they will become extraordinary creatures. But will he have enough strength for this? The idea of jumping into the water seems crazy. However, he is confident that he can do it if he puts in the effort. Wolves require attention and patience. The young man understands that raising such creatures is a long process. The henchmen gather their tools. Yin is already preparing to fish, taking fishing rods handmade from bamboo. The gentleman says that it is for moments like these that he makes money. He helps the boys learn how to put bait on a fish. The mentor watches from the sidelines without interfering. The boys are going to catch the biggest fish for their friends. Everyone looks happy. This rest was necessary, especially after so many trials and difficulties. The girl asks the main character why he settled in this place. If he wanted to become famous, he could live somewhere else. He asks if it is important to be famous. In response, he hears the idea that becoming famous is the dream of every great warrior. Another girl apologizes for Aaron. She feels that her questions are too bold for Mr. Guan. The gentleman says that it doesn't bother him. He already knows about Erin's character and understands her curiosity. They feel the bite and pull the rod. Apparently their beloved nanny caught her first fish. Everyone is happy about it. The fish that took Nyanya's bait was a swordfish. She hurries to share this event with the master. The frame switches to the protagonist's chambers, where he reflects on the guests and visitors who come to the Kajin Tavern. He reflects on the military's interest in the guards and the Seiki clan. An understanding of the specificity of the training course comes to him. Cruelty to diligent students is unacceptable. This rule is repeated like a mantra. Training should strengthen, not break the spirit. The young man recalls his first steps in martial arts. Back then, mistakes seemed like a disaster, but now they are part of the journey. The mentor jokes that at their age they need more sleep. Laughter relieves tension, but everyone understands that discipline is more important than fatigue. Even a master was once a beginner. This thought gives strength and reminds us that growth takes time and patience. The gentleman heard someone training so late and decided to take a look himself. Everyone was shocked by the visit of such a person. They apologized for the noise and inconvenience they caused with their late training. In response, the gentleman calms them down. The mentor suggests looking at it from a different angle. He sees that all three students have weak bodies. They're the weakest of all. But the guy also sees their perseverance. He understands that Tai Chi Chuan is the best choice for strengthening their bodies and improving themselves. Attacking from three positions at once is a risky strategy, but sometimes only bold decisions lead to victory. The young man hesitates but agrees to try. His determination resembles a gambler who puts everything on one card. The mentor approves of the idea, although he warns of possible consequences. Experience tells us, without risk, there is no progress. The plan works unexpectedly smoothly, as if fate itself was leading them by the hand. Success becomes the best reward for courage. The trajectory of the strike changes at the last moment, taking everyone by surprise. Such skill evokes admiration and slight envy. The guy blinks, trying to comprehend what just happened. It's like a magic trick where the viewer still doesn't understand how it was pulled off. The mentor grins at the reaction of his students. Years of training have taught him to anticipate even the most unobvious maneuvers. The blow becomes a lesson. Real art does not follow patterns. Sometimes chaos is the best teacher. The gentleman thinks that repeating the training would not give them new results in their training. He asks about the strength of his blow. The students say that the blow was not very strong. They are surprised that the hit place does not even hurt much. The mentor asks why they did not parry his not strong and not fast blow. This question takes them by surprise. They say they couldn't because the blow changed its trajectory. The gentleman says that's exactly what he wanted to show them. A young man ponders the balance between martial arts and common sense. Refusing to fight is not a sign of weakness. Sometimes it is a strategic move. The guy moves slowly, trying not to freeze in place. Each movement resembles a dance, where a mistake costs more than applause. The enemy's weak points are the key to victory. But to find them, you need to understand your opponent better than he understands himself. Masking his own intentions, the man watches every move of the enemy. The perfect moment to attack will come, like a sudden marshmallow in the face. The mentor receives his thanks with a modest nod. His student resembles a cat who has found a sardine in a pile of canned goods, proud and slightly dumbfounded. The guy notices a strange guy watching the training. Under the water, he sees the silhouette of a strange snake monster. The thought of a long search suddenly ends. Finding the target brings relief, like finding a remote control after half an hour of digging around in the couch. The man grins as he looks at him. Standing on the boat, he thinks about what he can do with this monster. The young man looks thoughtfully into the distance, as if trying to solve the riddle that the universe itself has thrown at him. The guy suddenly freezes, feeling someone's gaze on him. This feeling is similar to the moment when someone is watching. The mentor looks at the snake as if watching a cat trying to catch its own tail. A man ponders the importance of assessing an opponent's strength. Without this skill, the path to becoming a wise being seems just as distant. The guy is concentrating on studying something in front of him. Suddenly, the snake starts wriggling, causing waves around itself. The mentor watches the snake's endurance, as if conducting an experiment. How long will it last? The young man froze in a strange pose, preparing to be struck by lightning. The energy around his fist already wants to get out. The guy looks at something with bewilderment, as if he saw his cat trying to open the refrigerator. His thoughts are clearly preoccupied with the question, where is he going and why? The guy shows confidence, claiming that even underwater he will not miss his target. His determination resembles a shark. The young man looks at something with obvious bewilderment. The expression on his face speaks of complete confusion. The mentor notices the drops of blood scattered around. This blood is precious. The young man looks with surprise at the strange tunnel, which clearly stands out from the rest. The guy notices that the other entrances look the same, but this one in particular catches his attention. Perhaps it is a trap or a clue that he's been looking for a long time. The mentor nods approvingly, as if confirming the importance of the discovery. His reaction suggests that this place may be the key to their further actions. The man breathes a sigh of relief, confirming his suspicions. This place is clearly man-made, suggesting ancient masters who left their secrets here. The boy ponders that there was probably a martial artist hiding here. This place could be a repository of knowledge that would help them in the upcoming trials. The young man is amazed to recognize the figure as the greatest warrior of antiquity. His story raises questions about how such a master could die alone, leaving behind only memories. The young man notices that the warrior's body is in perfect condition despite the passing years. This indicates that the master has achieved an incredible level of skill. The boy looks with admiration at the techniques used by the great warrior. Now it becomes clear why many try to capture him and adopt his knowledge. The mentor reflects on how the master combined techniques from different martial arts schools. This explains why he became an enemy to many and was forced to hide. The man studies the strange elixirs with surprise, which clearly possesses unusual abilities. The boy realizes that the master stole many valuable things to achieve perfection. His death, full of grief, causes mixed feelings. The young man reflects on how the master dedicated his entire life to his goals, but never achieved them. His tenacity deserves respect, despite the tragic end. The henchman watches in amazement as a strange creature is caught during a hunt. Its size and strength are cause for concern, but also interest. The boy looks at the creature with obvious confusion, trying to understand how it could be useful. His expression suggests that this discovery could change their plans. The man explains that the creature was caught during a hunt for a great serpent. Its size and strength are so great that it is best to deal with it now, while there is support. The young gentleman looks with amazement at the enormous snake that has become the key to his progress on the path to wisdom. Its size evokes a mixture of admiration and slight fear. The guy enthusiastically announces that the snake will be the main course for dinner. He delegates the preparation to his companions and concentrates on the marinade. The mentor allows the snake parts that are not intended for food to be examined. His consent makes the team happy, ready to begin the study. The woman is relieved to see that the snake, despite its size, is venomless. His attention shifts to its strong teeth, which could be used as a weapon. The guy respectfully watches the work of the craftsmen, who easily cope with cutting up the snake. Their skills inspire admiration and trust. The young man gives clear instructions on how to cut up the snake. The blood is collected for rituals, and the meat is prepared for a communal dinner. The mentor watches the fuss around cutting up the snake with a touch of irony. His calm contrasts with the energy of the others. The guy praises one of the participants for the work done. His words sound like recognition of the importance of everyone in this process. A man looks with admiration at pure jade oil, which is considered a real treasure. Its value is obvious to everyone present. That evening, the disciples from Sun Hong strengthen their bodies with the help of a giant snake. Although it cannot be compared to real magical creatures, for beginners, such an experience is extremely useful. For those who have just started studying martial arts, such practice brings great benefits. It helps to strengthen not only the body, but also the spirit. Meanwhile, Samnan, following Haivai's orders, drank the blood of a giant serpent. This ritual was supposed to strengthen his abilities and prepare him for future trials. Soon the night came, quiet and cloudless. The calm around created an atmosphere ideal for reflection and preparation for new challenges. Kaivi, now without the kite, focused on the next steps. His plans became more ambitious and his goals became clearer. The young man knew he must not show weakness. However, this time he decided to make an exception in order to save his strength for future battles. Knowing that Koyun Soki existed could be dangerous. This discovery made everyone think about how to use it wisely. The nanny benefited from all this. Her role in the team became increasingly important despite her apparent modesty. The guy decided that she should move forward with confidence. Her path was not easy, but that was what made it so valuable. The young man calmly leaves the nanny's house, realizing that he did a good deed for her. The boy, with a touch of irony, agrees to the cat's request, despite the fact that the cat couldn't digest even simple food. One drop is all he can offer. The man is surprised to realize that he will now have to become a bodyguard for the cat. This role seems both funny and unexpected to him. The mentor gives clear instructions on how to arrange the ingredients. His commands sound confident, although the bustle around creates an atmosphere of slight chaos. The guy is enthusiastically preparing for the holiday, trying to do everything perfectly. His desire for perfection is respectable, despite his fatigue. The girl explains with a slight smile that work is a natural part of life. His words sound like a reminder of the importance of hard work. The woman expresses a desire to help not only Mr. Gvanch, but also his wife. His sincerity and willingness to participate in family affairs are respected. The girl greets Mr. Gwanja with a smile. His good morning sounds like the beginning of a new day full of opportunities and adventures. The young man watches the preparations for the feast with surprise. The amount of food seems excessive, but the sudden appearance of guests may justify such a scale. The guy recalls with slight irony how last time only bones remained from a huge eel. The students, apparently, are able to cope with any amount of food. The man watches in amazement as Mr. Guanju rushes to announce the arrival of guests. Such fuss causes a mixture of surprise and mild panic. The teacher respectfully mentions that Ms. Peng apologizes for her absence. At the same time, the arrival of Ms. Seok Myeong from her home adds significance to the celebration. The guy admits with a slight smile that he was right about the number of guests. The nanny, as always, turned out to be wiser and more prudent. The young man is amazed to recognize the guest as Masapan of Ibuki. Her visit adds an unexpected and intriguing twist to the celebration. She explains with a smile that friendships between warriors are common. Such relationships help strengthen bonds and find common ground. The girl watches the guest with interest, who previously considered men unworthy of even her attention. Her behavior raises questions about motives and goals. The girl proudly notes that her brother confidently runs a martial arts school and 2 hotels. Such achievements deserve respect and recognition. The girl proudly notes the success of her project. He reminds that the product is sold in limited quantities, so you should hurry. The guy looks at the result of the work with surprise, which exceeded all expectations. The quality and detailing are truly admirable. The teacher presents a gift with a smile, which will be a great addition to the students. Clothing corresponding to the School of Martial Arts will emphasize their status. The man gratefully accepts the gift, not expecting such a gesture. For the first time, his face shows an expression of genuine joy and satisfaction. The girl suggests revising the contract with Sukpong Paigak. Her words sound like a reminder of the need to update the terms of cooperation. The young man reacts to the news of the inheritance with a touch of irony. He is not so much interested in the struggle for power as in the possibility of getting a new order. The girl smiles and reminds us of her gift, which, apparently, was forgotten. Her words sound like a joke, but with a hint of seriousness. The boy asks anxiously what happened. The anxiety reflects the importance of the moment and the need for urgent action. The young man reacts with mild irritation to the news of an important guest. It sounds like a reminder of Mr. Guanju's priorities. The young man spends his time in Wangwei, attracting many visitors. However, security is clearly inadequate, as if trying to protect a sandcastle during high tide. The guy listens skeptically to the advice to start small. His interlocutor jokes that it is easy to give recommendations when it is not your grandson. Grandpa shows up at the party to a mixture of joy and bewilderment. The lack of warning about the visit is reminiscent of a surprise from an unsolicited advertising letter. Gene Ho agrees to a short conversation, although his attention is already focused on the guests. The invitation sounds like a reminder of urgent matters. The mentor notes with approval that the student has adopted the mannerisms of the headmaster. The compliment sounds like an acknowledgement of growth, but with a hint of irony. The lack of birthday wishes is a bummer. It's like a cake without candles. Everything is there, but there's no celebration. The head of the school is reported separately, emphasizing her status. It's like getting a VIP pass to your own party. Family disagreements are discussed with a touch of sarcasm. The father, it seems, will not give up his attempts to influence, like an annoying alarm clock. Looking at the tired look of the head of the school, it becomes clear that managing the school is like running an obstacle course in a penguin suit. The young man looks at the gift with surprise, which turns out to be not a check, but something more significant. The situation is reminiscent of opening a gift that is not what was expected. The boy is amazed to learn that the gift is a deed to the land around the school. Such an acquisition causes a mixture of joy and slight shock. The mentor explains that the land is 5 times the size of the school's current holdings and could be used for expansion and pasture, making the gift strategically important. The man offers to try something new with a slight smile. His words sound like an invitation to an experiment that may bring unexpected results. The guy reassures that combat is not only about strength. His words remind us that strategy and skill are more important than brute force. Grandfather proudly notes that his grandson can handle even several elders. His request to stay overnight sounds like a desire to prolong their time together. The young man asks with slight irony which of the two will be chosen. The situation resembles a choice between 2 equally attractive options. The boy is surprised to learn that the relationship between the families is not what he expected. His words sound like a reminder of the complexities of family ties. Gene Ho hosts guests until late in the evening, demonstrating hospitality. His efforts resemble an attempt to balance on a tightrope. The young man is surprised to learn of the plans for the move. Preparations for the transportation of goods from Hubei to A-zoning and Jilin raise questions about the scale of the operation. The boy decides to stay in Wangwei for a while, which helps him better understand local traditions and strengthen his ties with the community. The young man discusses the cold and the strength needed to overcome it with a touch of irony. The talk about the wall adds a touch of philosophical humor. The mentor smiles and notes that art is only available to a select few. This emphasizes the importance of persistence and patience in achieving mastery. The boy is surprised to see that the new arrivals look older than those who failed to cross the Wailing Wall, an observation that raises questions about their experience and motivation. The young man respectfully mentions that Mrs. Sok Muanghan sent them, which underlines her influence and authority in their circle. The mentor explains with a touch of irony that the envoys are to arrive to support the express cargo. This underscores the importance of preparation and planning. The guide doubtfully discusses the possibility of overcoming the wall. The situation requires not only strength, but also strategy, which makes it even more interesting. The young man happily welcomes the new guests. This event marks the beginning of a new stage, full of opportunities and challenges. The young man offers the new arrivals a rest before training begins. His offer sounds like concern for those who have just arrived, despite their age. The guy is eager to start training to get over the wall faster. His determination resembles an athlete ready for a marathon. The mentor explains that the crash course does not contain anything complicated. The main thing is to fight one-on-one to gain enlightenment. The woman asks dubiously if a one-on-one fight will really help to overcome the wall. His question sounds like a challenge, demanding proof. The girl discusses with surprise the possibility of overcoming the wall with one blow. His words sound like he doubts the effectiveness of such an approach. The woman notes with a touch of irony that even those who barely made it can overcome the wall. His words add a touch of humor to the serious conversation. The guy enthusiastically agrees that the course's success will cause a real sensation. His confidence sounds like a foretaste of future victories. The woman proudly declares that his father will be the first to climb the wall. His words underscore the family's ambitions and traditions. The guy announces that he will hold one-on-one duels. His decision sounds like a challenge that will help each participant to reveal their potential. The young man respectfully yields the right of first move to the elder. His gesture emphasizes the importance of tradition and respect for elders. The boy proudly declares that the elder must be the first to overcome the wall. His words sound like a recognition of many years of experience and training. The mentor relies on the headmaster with confidence. His archetype exudes tenacity, which adds a note of seriousness to the atmosphere. The young man suggests starting the duel by giving up the first move. His decision sounds like a challenge that will help both participants to unlock their potential. The gentleman declares that he will not refuse help, regardless of age. His determination underlines his willingness to learn and grow. The man watches in amazement at the unusual technique, which requires neither a sword nor energy. The mentor, with a slight smile, demonstrates a skill that does not require the use of sword. His actions look like art brought to perfection. The old man notes with amazement that all this happened without the use of a sword or its energy. This seems to challenge all conventional notions about martial arts. The old man ironically discusses how everything can end on a meaningless note. His words sound like a reminder of the importance of purpose and meaning in any endeavor. The man is surprised to realize that he has spent all his remaining energy. His condition resembles a battery that has suddenly died at the most inopportune moment. The boy notes with approval that the student has done a great job. His praise sounds like recognition of effort and progress. The guy notes with a touch of irony that risky actions can lead to unexpected results. His words sound like a reminder of the importance of caution. The young man asks in surprise if his brother is ready for tomorrow's test. His question sounds like a challenge that requires an immediate answer. The boy is surprised to see that his brother has lost consciousness. His gaze turns behind the wall, where something unexpected is hidden. The old man asks with slight irony to wait, as he has just found a clue. He wants to join the fight again. The young man resolutely agrees to wait. His words sound like a readiness for a new stage that will begin right now. The mentor watches what is happening with surprise. His facial expression indicates that the situation has gone beyond what was expected. The guy is amazed to note that there is something incredible hidden behind the look. His words sound like a discovery that changes the whole idea of what is happening. The young man describes a state where you are aware only of your opponent and yourself. It sounds like the highest form of concentration in combat. The mentor explains with a smile that people call this state of egolessness. His words sound like a reminder of the importance of humility and focus. The young man reflects on the fact that even in a special state, not everyone is able to overcome the wall. To do this, you need to find the key moment that will allow you to go beyond the limits of ordinary perception. The guy is interested in discussing how the technique will look in practice. His words sound like a reminder of the importance of pushing the opponent to the limit. The mentor explains that you need to help the enemy see a glimmer of mastery, even if only for a moment. This sounds like the key to a real breakthrough. The young man is delighted to see his brother make a breakthrough. His reaction is reminiscent of a fan who sees a goal scored in the last minute of a match. The guy smiles and congratulates you and offers to see for yourself. His words sound like an invitation to a new stage of testing. The old man excitedly announces the breakthrough he has made. His words sound like a recognition of the long-awaited success that was made possible by the support. The girl notes with slight irony that overcoming the wall of grief will bring a lot of trouble. His words sound like a reminder of the consequences of loud achievements. The woman smiles and suggests asking Mr. Guan for help. His words sound like a joke, but with a hint of a real possibility. The guy asks with a slight smile to wait a little. His request sounds like an attempt to remain calm in a tense situation. The instructor tiredly announces that training is enough for today. His words sound like concern for health and the balance between workload and rest. The nanny notes sympathetically that Mrs. Aaron trains hard. Her words sound like recognition of her efforts and resilience. The guy asks why he wasn't warned about the visit. His question sounds like a joke, but with a hint of the importance of planning. The young man reminds that an unauthorized visit requires permission from Mr. Wan. The guy smiles and discusses peace and quiet. Our protagonist warns him that if he draws his sword, he will die. The young man is surprised to note that his interlocutor has changed since their last meeting. The confidence with which he holds himself arouses sincere admiration in those around him. The guy notes with a touch of irony that his interlocutor has become more than just a master. This sounds like a hint at the importance of respect, especially when visiting. The young man responds defiantly to the disrespectful tone. The speech becomes a reminder of the boundaries of their intimacy. The guy reacts with surprise to the interlocutor's impudence. The reaction resembles confusion before an unexpected turn of events. The young man asks in amazement what is happening. The question reflects an attempt to comprehend the strange actions of the interlocutor. The boy doubtfully discusses whether contact with Sakdazeng will help in the current situation. The conversation turns into a challenge that requires an answer. The young man notes with a touch of irony that even the loss of an arm or a leg will not be the end. The thought emphasizes resilience in the face of difficulties. The boy discusses the existence of two heirs with surprise. The topic reveals an attempt to understand complex family dynamics. The young man respectfully agrees that the guy is right. The answer serves as an acknowledgement of the exceptional nature of the situation. The young man regretfully admits that the conflict could set him back in the struggle for the inheritance. The apology seems like an attempt to maintain his position. The guy threatens that this is the last warning. The phrase emphasizes the seriousness of the current moment. The young man anxiously considers what will happen if the gentleman leaves. His thoughts paint a picture of the worst-case scenario. The boy indignantly asks if it's worth going back and begging for forgiveness. The question becomes a challenge to decisive action. The young man, with determination, orders the best warriors to be gathered and the guards to be trained. The order marks the beginning of large-scale preparations. The guy reminds with seriousness that defeat will mean the end. The warning sounds like the final signal before the battle. The young man announces with determination that he wants to see Mr. Panu. The order to send all uninvited guests back foretells serious changes. The guy is indignant at being treated like an ordinary person. The remark emphasizes his status and importance. The young man asks in surprise what is going on. His tone betrays his confusion in the face of the chaotic situation. The guy asks with irritation who dared to treat the guests so rudely. The question requires an immediate explanation. The young man offers to show what he wants to see with interest. The offer opens a new stage of testing. The boy tiredly declares that enough is enough and orders them to leave. The team hints at the limits of even warriors. The young man explains with determination that he needs to overcome the wall to earn money for his mother's treatment. The story reveals the depth of his struggle. The guy ironically notes that it is better to spend money on his mother's treatment than to come here. The thought emphasizes priorities. The young man confidently declares that even if he is telling the truth, it does not make him a fool. The phrase throws down a challenge that demands respect. The young man notices with irritation that as soon as one guest is disposed of, others immediately appear. The decision to waste no more time reflects a desire to find peace. The boy confidently states that he came on a mission. The speech emphasizes the importance of the mission, despite his refusal to teach martial arts. A young man discusses Sichuan province with a touch of irony. The conversation becomes an attempt to understand local traditions. The girl notes with surprise that in Sichuan everyone wears black. The observation highlights cultural differences. The young man indifferently remarks that he has no particular interest in new places. The remark betrays a habit of stability. The boy smiles and notes that the owner of the house brought them here so that the family could enjoy the views. The remark emphasizes the value of family vacations. The young man asks with interest if this is really the village of Tang, a question that reflects a desire to understand local connections. The boy greets Mrs. McGowan and the other guests with respect. The greeting marks the beginning of the official meeting. The young man offers to take the guest to the business lounge with a smile. The offer sets the tone for a new stage of the meeting. The young man respectfully announces that this is an order from the head of the house. The statement emphasizes the importance of maintaining traditions. The guy declares with determination that the owner ordered everything to be arranged at the highest level. The speech foreshadows large-scale preparations for receiving guests. The young man discusses with slight irony how the guests have been trying to anger him from the very beginning. The conversation betrays an attempt to maintain calm. The guy admits with surprise that he doesn't know who is in front of him, but greets the guest. The remark opens a dialogue that requires a response. The young man asks with slight anxiety if something has happened. The question expresses concern for the interlocutor. The boy is surprised to notice that he feels strange. The remark becomes an attempt to comprehend the unusual state. The young man notes with interest that the head of the Tang family from Sichuan has arrived with something interesting. The remark foreshadows a new stage of the meeting.